Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Fanfury Open Championship, sponsored by Fanfury. I am Mamba Senior. Alongside me is my brother, Icy Baby, and well, this is what it comes down to. Today is the grand finals. Of course, we're going to have the quarterfinals and the semis as well. Really exciting matchups coming up, and of course, some really cracked players as well. But before we discuss about all of that, Icy, I want to come to you. How are you doing?
I'm feeling good. I'm definitely excited to see more Clash Royale action as well, especially coming in from amazing games from yesterday's performance in day number 1. Now, we're finally here in day number 2, the final day, grand finals on its way. A lot is on the line. Even though we have not finished our quarterfinals yet, we did have a little bit of taste in yesterday's games, and it seems to be getting closer and tighter every game that we surpass and watch throughout the entire day itself. So I'm expecting the grand finals to be extremely crazy in terms of gameplay. I don't exactly know who is who, because you guys as well at home, Mamba, I believe you have a couple of predictions here and there, and none of us are having same predictions so far. So I feel like anything can happen at this stage.
No, I mean, honestly, look, predictions are really dicey, right? Anything can happen. Even one card on and off, one tile on and off, and the entire series can be lost. But obviously, you can hope for certain results that I'm pretty sure we all hope for at some point in time. But I'm sure the fans were waiting for all the players as well, right? Everybody who's actually made it up the ladder, especially all the local fans, right? You talk about Indian fans, you talk about all the countries, 15 countries were a part of this entire tournament. And that's not easy to do, first of all, and that's a lot of expectations as well for players. So let's walk through all the details of the tournament, right? We had 15 participating countries, all the countries on your screen, and some really big names from these countries as well.
Yeah, definitely as well. We have players coming from Bangladesh, Bhutan, Cambodia, India, Indonesia, Malaysia, Maldives, Myanmar, Nepal, Pakistan, Philippines, Singapore, Sri Lanka, Thailand, and Vietnam coming to compete for this prize pool. And, you know, all things considered, a lot of them actually made it. Surprisingly enough, majority comes in from India itself in towards the top 16. However, the prize pool will only be split between the top 8 winners. So regardless as well, the prize pool is going to be the total amount of prize pool is going to be 12,500 USD. That is a huge margin of a prize pool to be split between 8 people.
Yeah, absolutely. But the player who wins the tournament walks away with $5,000. But talking about the tournament format, right? We had open qualifiers in a private tournament. Then on 15th of April, the round of 32, but 16th and 17th, that is yesterday. And today is when we've had matches being broadcast. But talking about the prize pool breakup, $5,000 for the first place, $2,500 for the second, third and fourth walk away $1,250, fifth to 8th walk away at $625. So practically, if you're in the top 16, you do walk away with $625, as long as, of course, you win one game. That's the single most important thing. But here's my question, right? With all the money, with all the expectations, the pressure is definitely going to be difficult to deal with, don't you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree, because one wrong move can cost you a game, and that's the beauty about playing into the top 8, right? Once you reach this stage, it's all about adapting, right? Best of 3 series is where you adapt the most. Best of 5's even more. Best of 7 is even crazier for grand final. So we want to make sure who is going to be the best of the best here for the Fanfury Open Championship. And of course, now these are your top 8 finalists as of yet. We have Mohsin, Noisy Boy, Famous Kid, Jess, DK, Sir Smoke a Lot, DVJ, as well as Venom from yesterday's game, and as well as today. And this top 8 players, I'm not gonna lie, have demonstrated themselves. They have very, very flexible gameplay, especially coming from Famous Kid, Sir Smoke a Lot, as well as DVJ has showed multiple variations of their compositions in terms of decks.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But what I was really surprised about is Venom, right? With the amount of composure that he actually had going up against somebody of that stature. It's not easy. And Venom played really well. Mohsin at the same time as well, being really dominant in the way he played. We did see a slip up coming in from Sir Smoke in the first game, but then again, he did come back and he showed us why he is arguably the best player in the country.
Yep, as of yet here, we have 2 Singaporeans, 2 Malaysians in the top 8. However, we did watch the quarterfinals early on yesterday that Jess has dropped out rather early. Noisy Boy will be in the top 4 alongside with Famous Kid as well. So this is going to be a matchup that I'm excited to see later on in towards the semifinal. So instead of us mumbling here, let's take a look at the brackets in case you're just tuning in for the tournament itself. The brackets are as shown. Like we said as well early on with Mamba mentioned, yesterday we have finished finish all the round 16 matches to proceed in towards the quarterfinals as of yet. We've had 2 of the quarterfinals yesterday, with Famous Kid taking the 2-0 by default against Venom for a forfeit, and Noisy Boy taking a 2-1 victory against Jess despite a very, I would say, overwhelming lead by Jess in game number 1, but Noisy Boy was able to adapt very quickly. And now, based on these brackets as well, you liked Sir Smoke a lot, Mamba. I'm pretty sure you do. I believe Noisy Boy and Sir Smoke a lot have a lot of common similarities when it comes to adapting in best of threes here.
Absolutely, there's no doubt about that. And the reason why I like this player, right, particularly, is the fact that he was beaten up the first game, but then he did come back with the same strategy, just playing it better, right? Just making sure he starts playing his deck towards the deeper end of the game. And in the third game, came in with a completely different strategy, which caught his opponent off guard. And that's just the quick thinking, the confidence that he had with himself on his deck. And it's just great to see, right? Because when you're playing at such a high level, you need to back yourself. You can't let the results affect you, because the way you win tournaments, the way you become a champion is not by winning matches. That's the process that is important. And I do believe that Sir Smoke has put a lot of work in. But let's talk about the schedule, right? We do have Sir Smoke going up against DK in the first game, DVJ and Mohsin, Famous Kid and Noisy Boy. And then, of course, we have the semifinals. And, then the grand final, the second semifinal and the grand final, which, of course, is going to be a best of 7. The semifinals being best of 5s, and, of course, the quarterfinals being best of 3s.
Yeah, adapting towards a best of 5 series is going to be completely different as well, where you need to be able to play multiple decks and adapt on the fly, catching people and reading your opponents based on the draft. So I think yesterday Jess made a really big mistake against Noisy Boy by playing the same exact deck, hoping that Noisy Boy would not expect him to play the same deck. And instead, Noisy Boy was able to counter it and just completely beat Jess out of competition. So that's one of the very unfortunate events. But today, let's talk about a little bit of predictions here. For these guys watching at home, why do you guys let us know who do you think is going to make it all the way to the grand finals, as well as the potential winners of the Fanfury Open Championship, brought to you and sponsored by Fanfury, of course. I'm looking forward to see what it is as well. Like, personally, I believe, based on the predictions here from productions, from Mamba as well, it's going to be, my predictions is going to be Famous Kid to take it all the way, or maybe DVJ. Mamba is more siding on Sir Smoke a lot. But he's got a pass, or even Mohsin as well, which is something that he's predicting. And then I think production is supporting on towards Noisy Boy taking the cake. So that just shows how tight the competition is between the predictions, because it could have been anyone's game.
Honestly, you know what? I would actually pay a little more attention to the prediction of the production as well, because they definitely have a lot of trophies. I do believe some people in the team have about 5,000, 4,000 trophies, which is not bad, given the fact that you're not playing professionally. You only play to have fun and understand the game, of course. And then there are events coming up. But at the same time, some of these folks are deadly.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Some of these, they may have not played professionally, but they have participated in big scale tournaments as well. This is where experience comes into it, a very important factor. And yeah, it just shows you like why the top 4 are in the top 4. Like Famous Kid, one of the I would say low profile for us, but based on the community itself, they know who he is. He's one of the very few players in the entire top 16 here who's actually made it to his world finals with 32 plays. He came in towards the top 32 with no info for us, because he had a free win all the way through. And even the top 16 as well, we didn't see his composition, but when he first played yesterday, he came in swinging with decks that nobody else in the entire top 16 was playing. We saw the E-Giants coming in from him. We saw AQ Skeleton King compositions as well, which is very common, but still, he pulled it off so convincingly. It was a one-sided massacre by him.
It wasn't that common in this tournament, though, right? Because we were moaning about AQ. We were talking about, I do believe Skeleton King as well. For Mega Knight, right? That is something we did not see for probably half the day until the last couple of matches, right? So it is something which is common. Yes, it is the Swarm meta. You can counter with the AQ, but we've not seen that so far being used as often as we would have expected to. So the question over here is, are we going to see a more traditional meta over here? Or is it, again, going to be something different?
Yeah, I think You know, for personally, I was expecting more AQs. We did see a couple of games, but to deal with swarms here, it feels like there are certain scenarios where it was used for against a Hog Rider to actually do some value chip damage to a certain degree. But so far, the players so far in the top 16 has been leaning on towards a minor poison composition where they go in for a very cheeky backdoor chip damage kind of style, which is very popular by being played by DVJ as well. I think a couple of games coming from Mohsin as well, which is really favorites as well, which forces a lot of the players early on in top 16 to be banning on minor compositions. However, there is still Goblin Drills, there's still poisons to worry about. And I'm looking forward to see the first match for today. I know you guys are excited as well because this is going to be the third quarterfinals as we continue in towards the top 8.
Absolutely, and this is going to be interesting. So, while we do have the cycle coming up, but at the same time we have Bandit going in. So this is, I wouldn't say it's concerning. The Elixir, on the other hand, definitely looks pretty equal to me, except for Sir Smoke taking it a little slow. Is he playing a heavy deck again?
That's the thing. He can be a little bit unpredictable as well. Production did mention that he tends to lean on the triple musketeers composition, but as of yet, we have not seen it. But he will review the mortar composition coming in from him. Considering that it is a great way to deal with Mega Knights, E-Giants, and Satra, but it seems like the Mega Knight will do a little bit of chip damage onto his turrets as he's struggling to defend against it. So as of yet, he's not doing pretty okay, but as you can see, DK is going to continue the pressure trade off, but he will sneak the Valkyrie by.
He definitely could, and it's definitely a much lighter deck than before, right? So we've definitely talked about the minor poison combo. It could be an earthquake as well, but no, it's going to be a lot, which could definitely dash away chip damage, and it can be really impactful. But it's a complete turn of events compared to yesterday because he's playing a much lighter deck.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense considering that both bans coming here is going to be AQ as well as the Golden Knight, right? So we are expecting a little bit of a Swami deck. Ram decks are extremely terrible against aggro decks like this, which you can see DK has demonstrated that he's got barrels coming in, he's got wall breakers, which are very low mana cost, and his only high card cost is pretty much the Mega Knight, which is used to be playing defensively. And I think he pretty much knows the entire cycle coming from Sir Smoke a lot, so he's trying to bait out to not overcommit to give value for this Mega Knight.
That is true, but I'm not quite sure with the miner going in over here, right? Because while he is being pushed on the back foot, but he clearly looks like he has a plan. Again, the miner coming in with a barb battle. This could definitely be really overwhelming, but the log isn't going to do enough damage. Nope, it is not even going to touch the tower. The guard's being used to perfection for Musketeer as well, but it's not going to be enough.
Yeah, this is really smart coming from Sir Smoke. Like, he knows that when it comes to double XS, triple XS, his mortar positioning is going to set up for a lot of huge plays. Can be very disruptive. But as of yet, we haven't seen his final card cycle coming from Sir Smoke. Like, he's keeping it as an element of surprise. Maybe it's a Fire Spirit, maybe it's a Skeletons or etc. But I don't think he wants to show it yet until the triple elixir. But as you can see, DK is not taking any necessary risks as well. But it seems like it is going to be a fireball coming in, and there's going to be so much value coming out there, hitting the Mega Knight and the wall barrels, and just like that, he cleans up the entire wave and gets a little bit more value in terms of trade-offs.
He does, and he definitely looks so confident and so comfortable with the way he's been playing that he took some initial damage but has been using the miner defensively. The question over here is what is going to happen now, because this is when you start getting a lot more elixir, and then you mentioned correctly, the mortar positioning is going to be crucial.
Yeah, this is going to be the comeback that he's been eyeing for as well. He's been looking for the mortar setups to try and get value damage and then hope to go for a second mortar later on if it's possible. But that's going to be a very risky play. But as of yet, Mega Knight is going to come in, but looks like he's going to try and protect the mortar with the Valkyrie to stop the Mega Knight from jumping in the mortar. And just like that, he's going to lose a little bit of trade, but he will build out a very healthy swap. Here he goes, the second mortar comes in, and this is where DK, they have to go full defense, and they set up the miner behind as well. They're so busy attacking the mortar, he's going to get a little bit more chip damage. However, with the skeleton scourgers coming in from Sir Smoke, he's able to pull away all this horde coming in. But is it enough? Because the damage is a little bit too much. I think he made a little mistake, and Sir Smoke will actually lose on the trade instead.
He definitely lost out on the trade over there, but he can make a comeback. He does need to do a lot of damage, but it is still possible. It's not impossible. The question over here is what is going to be the cycle for DK over here. He does have a zap, he does have a barb battle to work with, and the miner as well, but using the log along with the fireball, dishing out so much damage, but is it going to be enough?
That is so much value from this play right there. And now along with the miners again, he is going to stack it on towards the Mega Knight, rather going for a sneaky play. It seems like he wants to brute force his way through, but is this the wisest of choice? He's down towards 35 seconds left, and that is where the tiebreaker comes in. And I think DK, he's playing this safe, knowing that he's got this in the bag. But the miner sneak coming in from Super Smola is going to try and chip his way through, but it is going to be defended successfully coming in from DK.
This might be a massive problem. The zap coming in. Is this going to be enough damage? No, it is not. The game is still going to go on. We have a counter miner push coming in, dishing out so much damage. But does he have enough time? The mortar going in, trying to stop the MK, but the miner's going to go back in. We'll try and backstab him. The dog's coming up. But no, that is not going to happen. He's still alive somehow. But no, that is so unfortunate. Not being able to dish out enough damage. And Sir Smoke is going to lose out on this one, unfortunately.
Yeah, well done coming from DK. Sir Smoke a lot. He tried to cheese his way to the double mortar, but fantastic play with the Mega Knight as well to draw aggro away from the mortar from getting a little bit more value. So as of yet, he was not able to do so much, but well done indeed, because that ram coming from DK completely messed up his composition. The miners was able to sneak through multiple times, and what was very interesting about DK's composition was that he's not afraid to use the miner as an additional frontline tank to push forward for his main forces rather than play a very sneaky composition. So the beauty about playing miner is that it can be flexible at times. Oftentimes in the meta, it's always sneaking to the back, hoping to chip damage, sneaking in the back, hoping to chip damage, which Sir Smoke a lot tries to do a lot. Unfortunately, it was easily countered by like two elixir bats in the sky.
Oh, definitely. There was a lot of value from the bats coming in for DK, but at the same time, I do believe Sir Smoke might have underestimated the sort of defense that he might have needed from the MK, especially, right? He was able to kite him towards the center in one play, but apart from that, the MK was creating a lot of pressure, and then again, the bats creating a lot more value for DK over there. And that is the reason why he had to use a miner defensively, which, of course, was very surprising for me to watch, because usually if you have the miner, you want to create counter pressure, you want to go out there and make plays and chip away at the tower, right? Because he did have a lot to work with, also did have the fireball, but the problem is there was no tank defense to try and stop something like a Mega Knight coming in.
Yeah, you can see Sir Smoke a lot was expecting a very swarmy skeleton kind of composition, maybe the SK, right? Considering that AQ as well as Golden Knight is banned off, SK makes the most sense in terms of this kind of compositions. He was expecting like a very small minion composition, but DK played it very small by drafting decks and cards that doesn't necessarily get one-shotted by a Valkyrie, doesn't necessarily get one-shotted by a Mortar Calm, which in this case, the Mega Knight can't be touched by Valkyrie, can't be touched by Mortar. The bats itself can't be touched by all this as well. The wall breakers are easily manageable, but it forces up like logs, etc. to kind of chip a little bit more damage. You can see there's massive battle spells being played by Sir Smoke a lot, but I feel like DK adapted to the situation really, really well by understanding that Mortar gameplays play towards the later stage again, and if you do not give him a good time playing with Mortars, he is going to struggle a lot, and because playing Mortar requires a very, very high understanding of positioning and also tactical maneuvers in order to overcome your opponent. So it's not an easy composition to play for Sir Smoke a lot.
Oh, absolutely. It's not an easy composition to play, but at the same time, I do have this question. Is Sir Smoke going to try and change his deck, or is this going to be a 200 IQ move coming from DK? Because he knows exactly what Sir Smoke was trying to do, and since Sir Smoke actually lost, he might come in with a swarm composition. But let's move on to the game and see what actually happens, right? And again, the Fire Spirit coming in, just gonna cycle through that.
Oh, I like this adaptation from Sir Smoke a lot. Instead of going for Valkyries here, Bombers are just so much value. Back then in the previous meta as well, Bombers was like 3 mana cost. It's still not the most ideal. It's a little bit more tankier, but it gets the job done, right? You still pick it just to clear off swarms, but in this case, this is just efficiency all the way through, so which is very nice. But it seems like Sir Smoke a lot, it is gonna stick towards the Goblin Drill composition rather than the miners to apply pressure.
This is turning out to be a very, very low average elixir deck coming up. And I did ask you, right? Could it be a swarm deck? It is definitely looking like a swarm deck along with the skeleton army over there. But the drill coming up, the Valkyrie trying to stop it. Not a lot of damage being dished out, but no, as a matter of fact, a lot of damage being dished out to the bottom left tower.
Yeah, it seems like DK is still winning on the trade so far, because the decks like this, like Goblin Drills, it's easily countable with multiple units, and this is just so much value for Skeletons coming from DK, where he puts through 3 mana elixir, it just counters a 4 elixir Goblin Drill without much trade-off, and you probably be able to build a little bit more of a ram later on. So as of yet, I think DK is having a little bit more control, but Sersmorlot is trying to punish some sort of a mix-ups in terms of his composition. But as of yet, he's still not showing his final 2 cards.
He isn't, but he's still definitely looking higher on the trade because he's dished out damage to the top left out while we were all talking about the top right. The Swarm coming in again, which is definitely going to take it out, but that's not going to be enough because he's still going to get all the damage in the world, not allowing the log to dish out any damage. And this is, again, going to be really interesting to see because this time around, Sir Smoke is actually going for a split lane push.
Yeah, it's a little bit interesting to see him actually go for a split pressure, and I like this mix-up considering how strong of a potential defense that DK may be playing considering based on game number 1. So he tends to play a little bit more on single lane pushes rather than split push potential. So this is something that I think Sersmorlot can try to punish, but seems like the Inferno Tower is going to be anticipated for a big ramp if Sersmorlot tries to play this. So this is still a great defense coming from DK, but it's very, very expensive to play.
Oh, it is absolutely really expensive to play. And this is what we noticed, right? Immediately when Sir Smoke came over with the deck, he started off really light, and now he has all the time in the world. Actually does have the elixir to sort him out to push, but then again, DK on the back foot needs to stay alive. The Inferno Tower does dish out enough damage, but it's not going to be enough. The Fireball coming in, and the Drill is going to go out again. The Swarm will probably come in, but that's not going to be the case.
Oh no, the Fireball a little bit slow as well, hoping to push a Valkyrie, hoping that the Wall Breakers is going to be able to chip a little bit more damage, but he is still winning a little bit more trade-offs, and seems to me it is a surprise factor coming from Sersmorlot as well as DK. Apparently they are playing identical composition, playing with Goblin Drill, but a little bit of different variations. I feel like the Dart Goblin is so crucial in this kind of situations, but at the same time, Sersmorlot doesn't have big tanky units, which doesn't necessarily benefit Dart Goblin at all.
Well, wait, hold up. Was that going to be King Tut activation almost if he misplayed that? Could have possibly been, but nonetheless,
no.
We do have the Drill going in, and then the Inferno Tower is going to try and guide the Valkyrie, but at the same time, the Fireball. Now, this could be crucial.
Yeah, this is actually a mirror matchup right out here. DK showed his hands a little bit too late, didn't expect that. The Goblin, they are playing identical composition. You can see they're playing exact same cards and exact same trade-offs, but the downside is right now DK's tower is a little bit lower in terms of health, and because of that, if they trade 50-50s like this, eventually Sersmorlot will win. He needs to mix up his variations now from DK.
Oh, absolutely. He does need to mix up the variation over here, but the Valkyrie along with the Drill is going to come in. The question is, can he hold it off? Does he have enough time? Yes, indeed he does, but he's still taking damage. It's not going to be enough, though. The problem is DK needs to go now if he wants to chip away with the damage, but does get the log in. It's still not going to be enough. Look at that Swarm coming up, but the Goblin Drill making its way with the Fireball coming in. Oh my goodness, that is brilliant.
This is so smart coming from Sersmorlot. He knows he's got the upper hand in the variation. He's got the Bomber against this kind of swarms, and there's no way DK was able to make a comeback. So they are gonna tie the series yet coming from Sersmorlot. And DK, oh my goodness, this was a very, very, very good clutch coming from Sersmorlot. He knew that he needed to make some sort of play, and somehow he understood that DK's composition deck could not beat it. Like, in DK's mind is that he got the Dark Goblin, anticipating maybe there is going to be like Royal Giants, maybe a Mega Knight or E-Giant to a certain degree. Any big tanky units which can easily be dealt with the Dart Goblin, but Dart Goblin are really, really weak against massive swarms. And the only difference in terms of variation was that Sersmorlot, he had the Valkyrie, he had the Bombers to deal with the Goblin Drill in case anything happens. And even if the Fireball comes in, the Bomber will be able to chip away and reduce some of the damage done by the Goblins itself. Whereas from the side of DK, he was forced to use the Dart Goblin. Unfortunately, can't exactly one-shot a Bomber or even a Goblin Drill very, very easily. And for him, most of the time, he is struggling to play catch-up because the Goblin Drills is going to do a little bit more damage from Sersmorlot rather than DK. It's just really, really unfortunate.
Absolutely, but what I do believe is that Sir Smoke actually got a lot of value, especially from mid-game onwards, right? From the Valk and the Inferno Tower, making sure the drill does not stay alive for long enough. And then at the same time, of course, the Valkyrie is going to clean everything up later on. But yeah, the amount of value that he got from the Inferno Tower trade, taking out the Goblin drill, right? Every single time it tried to come in was almost unbelievable. But at the same time, he also was chipping away and had pushed DK on the back foot since the early game itself.
Yeah, I like the mindset coming from Sir Smo a lot in terms of understanding that because the AQ as well as Golden Knight is banned, right? If someone decides to go for a Skeleton King composition, things are gonna go south. That's why he anticipated like, hey, maybe I go for a Bomber instead. At least there is some sort of way to deal with this kind of massive swarms, or maybe even a Fireball on top of it all, which is a little bit of safety net. And the thinking between DK's composition is that, oh, what happens if he plays a very giant ram composition where we have Royal Knights, we have Skeleton Bombers, which Sir Smolot has demonstrated he has played yesterday. So he, in his mindset, I think that Sir Smolot completely bluffed his way through, and for him to pull this off, this is a huge win for Sir Smolot. But it all comes down to game number 3. Will DK still fall for the exact same track? Or in this case, the illusion of image that he is a RAM player, or is he gonna catch him off guard again with the Goblin Drill? So I'm looking forward to see how game 3 is gonna be.
I think it might be a RAM deck. I think so. I have this gut feeling it could potentially be a RAM deck, but we'll find that out. We'll figure it out if that is going to be the case, because we've seen Sir Smoke being able to change the strategy, especially in the last game.
Yep. And it seems like, oh, nope. It seems like it's gonna be miners over again. Looks like he is going to continue with this illusion. However, DK making the mix-up. This time he is going to go for the Bomber instead. This time he will bring the SK on towards the table. So this is good senses coming from Surspawn a lot. But will he be able to deal with this?
I think he's definitely going to take a little bit of damage, but at the same time, I do like this. I do like this cannon card being able to kite away the Skeleton King, and then he's going to get taken out. It's getting so much value. The Mortar coming in as well. What is going on?
Oh my goodness. Seems like Sir Smolot is going to be playing a composition similar to Jazz, and now with the Lava Golems on top of it all, this is going to be a very, very hard defense coming from Sir Smolot, but this time he's hoping that he does have some way to deal with it, but seems like it will sneak his way through, and DK will get a little bit more value on the sides, and he will potentially take the King Tower against Sir Smolot. Oh my goodness, this is a big cash coming from DK.
I'm... Has Sir Smoke given up? For a second, he did seem like he was very flustered with what just happened over here, because when I saw that swarm coming in, even I was a little taken aback, not being able to make sense of what just happened.
Yeah, it's all because the card tower, the card tower couldn't exactly, sorry, the card cannon can't exactly be activated, right? Because he wasn't exactly taken out and focused by DK's banner beam. But if he died a little bit early, probably he was able to stall the Lava Golem a little bit longer to prevent the tower activation. The tower being destroyed. So I feel like the card cannon was just something that he could not have dealt with. Like, it was just RNG, and it's just maybe a little bit of misplacement there. And like you said as well, one tower makes a big difference.
Oh, absolutely. But I do believe Sir Smoke, while he's still trying to be in the game, he's going to need a miracle to make a comeback in this one. I see. There's not a lot to analyze,
oh, no.
to be really honest.
Oh no, that's a big lightning coming from DK as well. Getting the Mortar, getting the Valve, and do chip damage on towards the tower. That is so much value for a 6 Ellerson to trade off. And Susmongalot, I don't know how he's gonna do this, but he has to make something work as of yet. The Mortar is doing fantastically well, but it's not hitting on the turrets intended. And you can see the tombstones are being set up from the side of DK to try and delay the inevitable push. The Green Dragon as well to clear it off. This is not gonna be a game that Susmongalot is gonna be enjoying. And with 10 seconds left, this might be game for DK. Well done indeed.
This is GG's, yeah, absolutely. DK coming in clutch and actually surprising all of us at the same time. Sir Smoke possibly making the biggest mistake he could have made early on in the game, lost out on a tower, and DK just showing us why he deserves to be over here. Even though Sir Smoke was the hot favorite coming into this matchup, but DK is not no name either. He's not going to give up without a fight, and not just a fight. He managed to take out a giant.
Yeah, and indeed, there's a reason why he's got a pretty decent amount of trophies as well in this in his global rank. Even though he's not had a major achievement, this is a big step up for him to be able to play with the best of the best, and he was able to try flexible maneuvers. Understanding that he messed up in his Dex's game number 2, adapted on the fly game number 3, switch up the bombers, which can easily be dealt if Sursmall decided to go for a very swarmy deck. So like I said as well, the Skeleton King adaptation was what changes the composition. Very nicely done, but I understood that Sursmall he needed the card cannon, so the card cannon to actually pull something off. But as long as the card doesn't get taken out, it will not be a building to draw aggro for the Lava Hound. So it's just the golem is just so annoying, and that was just big clutch coming from him.
Absolutely, and this is the intricacies that I've been talking about, right? We've mentioned that a tile to the left, a tile to the right, maybe just the timing being a little off, and honestly, it was really smart from DK as well to play the way he actually played. Even the card cannon mortar combo is something we did mention earlier on that can potentially work, but the Skeleton King along with the Baby Dragon, it was impossible. It was absolutely impossible to build any sort of a counter attack.
Yeah, it was very, very hard to play these kind of compositions because card cannon as well as the mortar has very, very high extra cost, right? So if you mess up the positions, there's literally no way for you to come back unless you can delay it with like one mana skeletons, fire spirit, etc. But even then, it's not gonna be enough because you need a lot of damage to chunk away. And Inferno Tower would be great, but I don't know, it's just sometimes it's just RNG, sometimes it's just luck. But let's take a look at the highlights here in case for these guys watching at home missed out in the action. So as of yet, game number 1, DK played a very, very convincing game by taking advantage against the Mortar, knowing that as long as the Mortar die, the Mortar is not going to be able to get a little bit more value. And 2 times in a row, Sursmall, he tried to play the Mortar composition, and like I said as well, Mortar is very, very skill based and very, very, like, has a very small win condition, a tight win condition to actually win the game.
It does, absolutely it does. But here's a question, right? This game shows us that even probably one of the most experienced players in the tournament, right, can have a blunder. And we saw some underdogs. Again, wouldn't call DK an underdog, to be fair, right? He does have a lot of trophies. He has proven himself. He has played really well. But players who least expect to win, you think it is going to be a tournament for the underdogs?
It may be that case, but I feel like so far it's too hard to say, considering that even though Sursmall has a lot of experience in terms of tournaments, right? Sometimes it comes down to luck. Our best of 3 is all about adaptation and understanding what players are very comfortable with. So far, we've seen Sursmall very comfortable playing RAM composition, very comfortable with playing very early swarm aggro decks, right? But so far, he has struggled to play Mortar, and I don't blame him. All the Mortar games that we've seen so far has taken a loss, including Jess as well. And it's just so difficult to win because it's a very, very small win condition, which can easily be punished if one mistakes. And we did saw in game number 3 as well, the moment the card cannon doesn't get taken out, you are not going to be able to draw aggro. And I understand the mentality that Sursmall, he tried to place on the right side. If that's get taken out, it is going to pull the lava golem from the top left all the way to the top right, and then proceeding to the lane itself, which will take too long and will eventually get chunked away by the King Tower. So the idea is there, but to execute it requires a very, very crucial mistake, which is DK killing the card cannon. So it's banging on people's reactions rather than getting an immediate response.
Absolutely, and this again, basing it off on a chance is a very bold move to the point where it could almost be deemed as not the best of decisions. But then again, this is where there's a fine line, right? When you talk about good players and you talk about great players, right? We'll talk about the schedule as well while we break this game down. But at the same time, the difference between a good player and a great player and a champion is that fine line of pushing the risk factor so high, where the returns could be really high as well. But at the same time, if it doesn't go your way, then it all comes crashing down.
Yeah, I think Sursmall is a pretty great player. I'm not gonna lie. He's a good, decent, great player as well because he's not afraid to experiment, right? Eventually, there is still going to be more tournaments. He wants to make it to the global stage. He wants to make it to world stages. He needs to understand how to play difficult compositions like Mortar itself, even though it is very popular in the global stages itself. So nevertheless, DK, a win is still a win. Let's not take credit where credit is due. DK still took the 2-1 against Smola. That puts him in the top 4 for our third quarterfinals.
That indeed it does, and well, DVJ and Mohsin, this is going to be a really good matchup to watch as well, because I've personally enjoyed watching Mohsin a lot, and I really want to see what he brings into this match, and what he brings to the table. Of course, then we'll have the semi-finals, which are going to be coming up, and I do believe the matches will get more and more intense. It won't be like yesterday where we saw a couple of 2-0s. I don't believe that either one of the semi-finals is going to be a 3-0.
I think it's gonna be tough. Like, personally, my heart says Malaysia Boleh. Mohsin, the only last Malaysian fighting for his tournament lives here. I'm looking forward to see his gameplay, but so far DVJ is someone that I kind of took notice throughout the entire groups as well during top 16. His gameplays are very, very pip-pop. All the matches he's played has been playing a deck where it requires a lot of skill-based placements. Very similar to how Mortar. So I haven't seen him play a Mortar composition yet, but we did see him play Gravestones as well as Tesla. So as of yet, I'm not sure what he's going to be saying, but let's take a look at the ban cards first. We give you a little bit insight. Seems like Lava Hound as well as the Inferno Tower will be taken out. Means that there are potential swamps and Ram decks that they will be playing later on.
Absolutely, but here's the thing, right? 2 casters, 2 nations are going up against each other. Who's going to come on top? Mohsin definitely looks a lot promising, but equal amount of damage being dished out by both the miners over there, and the bats going in early enough. But here's the thing, right? We did talk about the cannon cards in the last matchup. This time around, it can be pretty crucial, but the cannon card and Mortar combo is pretty strong as well.
Oh, wow. You can see Mohsin already shaking his head. What do we do? It seems like both players are playing a very, very similar comp. I was expecting DVJ to play a minor composition to go in for a sneak, but he is going to play that, but he is also going to get a little bit more value with the Mortar as well as the SK coming into the picture. So a little bit of a mix-up. Mohsin tends to lean on the Earthquake compositions, but as of now, DVJ is going to win a little bit. No, actually, he loses in the trade a little bit. Just barely by 1 auto attack from the Goblin Series.
Oh, absolutely, but he still has 3 more cards to go. It could be a potentially rampy composition over here, but taking so much damage over here again. Just planting the Mortar along with the Skeleton Army. Now, this is interesting. I'm not quite sure what the idea is, but the log going to come up will dish out enough damage. The cannon card will be making its way, but is there enough to mount a counter attack? I don't think so.
I think it's gonna be A-okay. I think DVJ wants to solidify his his left side turrets, especially with grid control, to try to get a little bit more value in terms of his trade-offs. But as of yet, he is definitely winning because of the minor sneaks here. So Mohsin, he's not gonna be able to do too much about this trade. And beautiful defense as well. And he was able to set out Mortar preemptively, means that he will get the upper hand by getting first hit on Mohsin's Mortar. So that means if Mohsin wants to win and respond to this, he needs to drop something else first before dropping the Mortar to get more value in terms of Mortar trades.
But this is incredible. Coming in, the Earthquake going to come up, dishing out even more damage, but with the Dart Goblin and of course the Skeleton King, they will be able to mount the defense and, well, again, the Swarm, right? But here's the thing, I've noticed this every single time DVJ wanted to go for a push. He's going to bait out a response with the tanks and then will go in for the response with the miner, and again, just coming out on top with the trade. But the problem is going to be the timing. If Mohsin manages to chip away at the end of the game, this could be a massive problem.
Yep, and as of now, Mohsin is going to force his miner as well, but the card cannon still lives. That means DVJ can potentially set up for bridge control. However, he will respond with another card cannon on his vicinity. So this time, Mortar's out of trades, and this time it's Mohsin's turn to be on the offense with his Mortar. And just like that, no, it gets diverted. The miner from the back, from the side of DVJ, will stall it away. That means this SK is going to sneak through and potentially go in for a Swarm. Is still saving it for the last tick before he goes in, but seems like DVJ, he wants to save his elixir for a different battle.
He does, but look at this counter attack coming this time around. The Nobbing scared at all. The Earthquake going to come in as well. Does he have enough time is the question. His miner is not going to be able to dish out enough damage, and this could be a misplay. But the problem is Mohsin does not have enough elixir to be able to be the first one attacking. Again, the lock going in, and again the miner going in. The Earthquake combo. This could potentially work out for him.
Wait, he needs one more hit. Can he get it? No, he doesn't. But at the same time, he's got the cycle through. But as of now, he's trying to suffer a way through for another lock or maybe even earthquake. He sets his way through, but the miner comes in for DVG against him a desperate attempt. He needs one more attack, and Mohsin will cheat at the last tick against DVJ. Well done with the earthquake plays as well. DVJ just losing out by 1 elixir in terms of trade-offs. That was just so minuscule. You could see 3 mana elixir, earthquake, getting value on mortars, getting value on SK, getting value protecting the miner and hitting the towers on the bottom left. While DVJ was able to get a very sick window with the fireball, hitting Mohsin's mortar, hitting the dart goblins, hitting the I think it was also another unit as well on the card cannon, and then hitting the turrets, right? So the difference is just 1 elixir when it comes to this trade-off. So well done from Mohsin.
Oh, absolutely. Really well played. And I honestly thought that DVJ might just be able to come out on top of this one because the way he was baiting out responses, right, was incredible to watch. But Mohsin caught up with it. He knew exactly what was going on. Fell for it the first 3 times, but after that, he said no more and started mounting a counter attack, which was really brave because if he timed that wrong, he could have lost out on the matchup.
Yeah, that was very, very interesting to actually see how they actually played it as well, because that was such a clutch coming from Mohsin as well in the last take. He was able to bait out in response here. Earlier in the first few halves, DVJ had full control of the situation. He was applying pressure all the way through. And the moment DVJ made one mistake, he was able to go on the offense. That is where he made DVJ completely fumbled in terms of his conversation and his cycle, just because of the sudden switch up in terms of play styles, right? Like DVJ was on offense the entire game. It was pretty much the entire game where Mohsin had to play on a defensive position. At the moment, goes for the switch up. It's all about adapting, right? Mohsin just adapted a little bit better compared to DVJ. So it just came down to like 1 elixir issue. So I wouldn't say the decks was bad. It's more like execution-wise, they were really going neck and neck against each other.
They were absolutely going neck and neck. It was so close every single time, right? But let's move on to the second matchup. That is the second round of this best of 5 series, which is going to be the... Wait, is this? No, it's a best of 3. But I just, for a second, I thought it's a semi-final. But nonetheless, it is a best of 3. Now, here's the thing. I do believe DVJ is going to try and come in prepared, but he's going to go in aggressive. Okay.
Seems like he is going to play a minor comboization a little bit here, but this time the vacuum comes in. Early King Tower activation coming from Mohsin, knowing that DVJ tends to lean on the minor composition. This time he will be the one to punish this. So this is going to be a very difficult uphill battle for DVJ from the get-go.
Unless he's able to activate his own King Tower, I don't see a way how this is going to work out for him. It's borderline impossible in my humble opinion, but then again, we'll find that out. But the lightning is going to break the card down behind the tower.
Yeah, that's not going to do a little bit more value. It does contribute in terms of damage, but as of now, here comes the question. I've seen DVJ play this kind of compositions with before, where even though he's got a King Tower activation coming from Mohsin, if he plays a mortar composition again, means that he is hoping to play a minor composition or maybe even earthquakes to actually chip damage. It doesn't matter if he has King Tower activation or not. I'm just looking forward to see whether or not, is it going to be the final 2 cards, is it going to be earthquakes or some spells there which Mohsin is very comfortable playing it.
I'm not sure honestly what it is going to be, but we will have to see an absolute miracle over there for this to work out for DVJ. But nonetheless, the card cannon going in, is it going to dish out any valuable damage? Nope, that's not going to happen. But then nonetheless, it does look like Mohsin has an upper hand right now, but we've not seen the last 2 cards yet. Which cards do you think they are going to be?
That's the thing. It's a little bit difficult here to actually anticipate. Sometimes it can be different in terms of variation, but I honestly think it should be either an earthquake or something else, or maybe even a poison graveyard. I wouldn't be surprised, but yes, it is the poison instead. So I think he is gonna go for the poison graveyard composition. So this is actually okay, but considering that his King Tower activation is gonna be very hard. But Lava Golem being set up for Mohsin means that DVJ is going to be able to deal with this very easily. This time he's got the Mortar on top of a preemptively cast, so this Lava Golem should be no I think it's pretty easy for him to take down unless Mohsin tries to go in for a tornado play, which he will eventually get taken out as well. So there's nothing much he can do. This Lava Golem easily taken out by DVJ. Well done.
Yeah, no, this is definitely really overwhelming for DVJ to try and mount a counterattack. It's not going to be possible. Look at this though. Yet again, just keeping the pressure up with the Dark Prince. Now the question is this going to work out for him?
Oh wow.
DVJ is really struggling, but it's not enough damage.
Wow, what a great turnaround coming from DVJ. Because of this small play right there, he's able to get a little bit more ready. And on top with the poison, he is going to be able to clear off those damage. And he's going to be able to potentially chip off a mortar. No, his mortar, his placements won't even... Oh, actually, he does get a free hit onto his top right. So that is huge coming from DVJ playing this game.
No, this is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. DVJ not losing out on hope. Even with the King Tower activation, he has been able to dish out a lot of damage, especially with the poison, right? The poison and the mortar as well, dishing out damage, making sure that he has the upper hand in that fight. Understanding the deck really well. Again, the lightning, as a matter of fact, the lightning coming in and breaking the card down, making sure that does not become a building. The golem coming up. But is he going to be able to hold the line? I do believe he can because he does have enough elixir.
Yep, seems like DVJ is going to go for the exact same composition. Mohsin needs to find a way to deal with this. Seems like he is going to switch up as well. Poison on top of the Royal delivery to try and clear this as much as possible. But will Mohsin sneak through? No, it is going to be a full defense coming in. And with the Knight on top of it all, a very tanky Knight to set up for this Musketeer. DVJ is going to be able to be okay. However, here comes another card cannon. Does the lightning play come in from Mohsin to share it off? Yes, it will. It will be stuck there again. Means it's going to be a very good, difficult defense. Offense coming from Mohsin, and it seems like that is going to be a winning trade coming from DVJ, and this is something I'm talking about as well. King Tower activation, regardless of it, as long as you're playing poisons all the way through, it doesn't matter if he has King Tower activation. He is going to be able to sneak through damage.
Oh, absolutely. You think he's going to go for the poison right now? It is going to be a very risky play, but the tornado coming in, it does not have enough defense.
Oh, this is huge.
Oh, this is massive. This is absolutely massive, I see.
Oh no, here comes the Lava Golem as well. DVJ, he's got a bit of sneaky as well. He sends his miner to the top right, but can he defend? Here comes Card Cannon and the Mortar trying to prolong is inevitable. But with 10 seconds left, he's hoping to bank on a tiebreaker to win this fight. He just needs to hold out for 5 more seconds. Here comes the lightning to sneak through the damage. Here comes the vacuum as well, but Mohsin, he finally taps the tower, but no, not enough time. Oh, DVJ. A very risky gamble right there, but manages to come up on top and tying the series. Ooh-wee, DVJ.
You see the smile on my face, right? It's impossible to believe that this just happened. Massive gamble paying off for him, and this is what we're talking about, making the big plays, pushing the risk factor so high, right? It's a fine line you're walking half the time, and just making sure it works out in his favor. You do need a little bit of luck, but over here DVJ had the nerves of steel, had a lot of composure, was confident, understood his deck really well, and that poison chipping away in the mid game was impeccable.
You know what was super crazy about DVJ's final play was that he had the upper hand in terms of trade because of this poison, right? But instead of overcommitting, instead of playing it safe, hoping that, hey, maybe Mohsin is gonna play a very simple column, he's gonna be able to defend it very well. He took a very risky gamble by setting up the miner rather early and also the poison to go in on offense at top right, knowing that, oh, we're down towards the last 20 seconds. I don't think Mohsin has enough time to sneak in. Even though the attack, the forces were strong, you could see if and only if Mohsin was given like 5 more seconds, DVJ might have lost then and then, because that was a big horde coming in on the bottom right. So that was a big clutch coming from DVJ, understanding that, oh, he doesn't have time. I am gonna try and go for a risky all-in push. Just like that, sneaks enough damage and overtakes him by 178 HP. So that was big plays coming from DVJ.
Oh, absolutely. And this was incredible to watch because of the fact that it was such a risky play, right? You get to understand how small the margins are, and it's just good to see somebody actually not just visualizing it, because it's a lot of pressure. You have to make a lot of decisions, but being able to execute it correctly and, of course, having the timing right. Wonderful to watch, but of course, we're going to move on to the third one, right? It's the best of 3. You need to watch a third game, which I do believe is going to be the toughest of them all, because both these players have learned a lot about each other.
Yeah, definitely for sure. And one of these players is going to be hitting the top four, right? And personally, my heart tells me Mohsin, my brain tells me DVJ. And surprised enough, DVJ was able to clutch him to game number 2. This decider match, I feel like Mohsin needs to step it up a little bit more because DVJ plays a very similar play style to Mohsin a lot when it comes to sneaking this kind of plays. And they do play identical compositions, taking advantage of the Earthquake. But so far, the Earthquake meta is something that a lot of players play and was, I would say, one of the most toxic decks out there into a current competitive play or ladder ranks here. So I'm looking forward to see whether or not is he going to go for the toxic deck coming in towards this competition. But without further ado, we're jumping into the final series, the decider match here in the final quarterfinals here for the Fanfury Clash Royale, the Open Championship. And now, seeing how things is going here, Mohsin is sticking to his Tombstones and also Green Dragon composition. And I feel like DVJ is playing a game 1 composition, I guess.
Possible. He has definitely changed his approach because he realized that, well, Mohsin read him like a book with the Tornado and the early King Tower activation, but the mana going in this time around, does he have the Tornado? Doesn't look like it, but we'll find that out. Again, just dishing out so much damage.
Seems like it is going to be a Lava Golem coming in from Mohsin again. So this time, instead of going for Mortars, DVJ opted to go for the Tesla, a safer approach, considering that how the Mortar is very difficult to play. However, the Lightning still in play means the Lava Golem will be able to stick towards the top bottom left. He does have the Skeleton Soldiers to deal with this. He's going to be A-okay, but it seems like DVJ will still be able to win in terms of trades. Golden Knight comes in. He's hoping to get a 1 value chunk, but seems like he is going to get kited as well. So that Golden Knight is not going to be able to do too much, as DVJ will sneak in with a Goblin Drill to continue his result onto the top right.
I am not quite sure if Mohsin has an incredible strategy, but he is holding his head, trying to figure out what is going on. Has he understood that it's not going to work out?
Oh no, it's very difficult to play considering that he's pretty much showed his hand that, hey, I've got a Lava Golem, and having this Lava Golem, it's very, very hard to actually play considering that sorry, this Golem, my bad, is very difficult to play considering that it's 8 elixir cost. You are going to be banging on overtime to actually sneak his way through. So right now, he can play react. He needs to play very, very slow and hope to bang on. But now, here comes the 2x. He might potentially drop it. Now, yes, this is the timing that he is looking for.
Absolutely. But here's my question. The amount of damage which has been dealt out is going to be impossible to hold up, but we do have the defenses coming into picture over here. And at the same time, we do have Tesla for defense. I see, in my eyes, it's going to be a massively difficult comeback.
Yeah, he needs to set up a big elixir play right now, but he doesn't have the elixir coming from Mohsin to stick his way through. But it seems like DVJ will continue to kite the Golem away with his Teslas while he is also sending Goblin Drills on the top right to potentially break it down. But eventually, the Golem will stick his pass through as well. But is it going to be able to get more value? Yes, he will. He's trading pretty okay, but DVJ understands that he's got more health than Mohsin. He's not going to overcommit, and he's going to continue his assault on the top right to break it up with the fireball as well. 389, and Mohsin is down towards his last health. He knows he's got to go all in one of the lanes against DVJ.
Just needs to cycle through one more time. That is all that he needs. But can he pull this off while he's being pushed back? Yes, indeed, the miner does go in, which might be able to do enough damage. But no, the Golden Knight is going to come to the defense, and it will not be able to dish out as much damage as he wanted. But almost pulling it off.
Almost peeling it off indeed, but it seems like DVJ, all he got to do is just cycle his way through. Mohsin's composition is a little bit too late, and Mohsin, you can see his faces as well. He knows it's over. DVJ needs to cycle one more elixir, and he's going to get the fireball. Is he going to get it? Yes, he will, and that is going to be game coming from DVG. What an amazing comeback coming from him. Returns the favor, goes in for a reverse 2-0 sweep, taking 2-1 against Mohsin. That is... You know, my brain tells me DVJ. My brain is smarter than my heart. But my heart is aching so badly that, Malaysia.
That's why you can switch teams whenever you want. You can come join my team. No, you can join my team. We have a lot of slots. We have a lot of players.
Hey, there's still famous kid, bro. In Singapore, you know, it's like south of my country, bro. Same. Neighbors, bro.
Well, in that case, we have a lot of neighbors as well. I'm just saying, right? So it's never going to work out for you because we will outnumber you. But no, all jokes apart, it was a wonderful matchup to watch, especially the comeback from DVJ. Brilliant storyline because game number 2, right, with the King Tower activation, I was pretty pessimistic. I was really pessimistic. But he didn't just understand his deck so well. It chipped away with the poison combo. And in game number 3, he was just outclassing Mohsin.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, when it comes to the King Tower activation, especially in game number 2, right? If you get a King Tower activation, any swarm, any full backline defense, right, is not gonna work. Any sneaky plays like Goblin Drills or Miners is gonna get shredded very, very easily, even with the Graveyard as well. But if you play like poisons, you play like earthquakes, you play like graveyard poison compositions, that doesn't really matter. Even King Tower activation is a spell that can't be neglected. So it's just so unfortunate. I was hoping that it might be wrong. I might get a sense that DVJ was not going to get a poison, but the moment the poison shows up, I know that was pretty much over for Mohsin. But nevertheless, well done indeed. In case for you guys watching at home, you guys have missed out on the action, let's take a look into the brief highlights on how it went down between both DVJ as well as Mohsin, arguably one of the strongest contenders here in the tournament itself.
Oh, absolutely. Arguably two of the strong. And here's the thing, right? Not just these two. Everybody's that made it to the top 8 are really good players. This was game number 1 where Mohsin came out on top. Of course, DVJ not being able to keep up with the attack that was being mounted against him. But game number 2 and game number 3 is brilliant gameplay.
Yeah, and you can see even in this game as well, where Mohsin actually won, the Earthquake was a big clutch, and it's very difficult to deal against spells where its low cost value gets a lot of chip damage for absolutely free, cannot be defended. And the only way you can win this kind of composition is that you're able to find equal trades across the board. So it's very difficult to play. And even if you play a Fisherman composition where players like go for King Tower activation, which we did see earlier on, even with the Tornado, is not gonna help you because the spells just completely ignore the King Tower's defense. So it's okay, I'm just gonna get damage regardless as well. And it all comes down to positioning. Like you can see, Mohsin played the 3rd game with a Golden Knight, expecting that maybe DVJ might play for a Skeleton King composition, but instead stuck to his roots, which is something that DVG is very happy about, which is baiting out with turrets, baiting out with Teslas, baiting out with Mortar. This is something that he loves playing. He loves playing those chip damage compositions and also going for structural defense all the way through. We've seen him play Mortar, we've seen him play card cannons, we've seen him play Tesla throughout the entire groupings as well. This is something that I don't think he's going to change. Miner is something that he's very comfortable with, but aside from that, I've not seen him play anything else but like AQ, SK, and etc. So this is something that I think other players in this particular early on, we did see. Who was it that won?
Which game was this?
The previous game. Hold on, what was his name? DK.
Yeah.
DK has a little bit advantage because he was able to sit down and properly analyze his gameplay for his next setup later on in the next semifinals. But of course, nevertheless, we are finally here in the top 4. We have got our top 4. We have DK, we have Famous Kid, we have Noisy Boy, as well as DVJ in the top 4. And I'm looking forward to see how the semifinals go. But as of yet, I think we're going to be taking a short break. For these guys watching home, don't go anywhere. Get a cup of coffee, get a couple of drinks, come down, sit down. We will be right back right after the breaks for the Fanfury Open Championship, brought to you and sponsored by Fanfury. See you guys right after this break.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Fanfury Open Championship, sponsored by Fanfury themselves. My name is Ranjit Mohsin Patel. Alongside me is Icy Baby, and we've had some wonderful matches, but now this is when it starts getting real, ladies and gents. The semifinals and the finals coming up. Best of 5 for the semifinals and a best of 7 for the grand finals. Icy, how are you feeling about this? Because the action that we've seen today is really, really promising.
I'm feeling excited as well. I know the people in chat as well on YouTube is just going absolutely crazy. Apparently the predictions here is that they want to see both Famous Kid going up against DVJ, but that's only possible if Famous Kid wins his respective matchup right now, and later on DVJ wins it, and they will most probably meet in the grand final. So that is going to be their predictions. I feel like it's very similar, but we might exactly see an upset. But of course, for these guys tuning at home or wondering what is going on here, this is going to be the brackets for you guys to refer on how the top 16 has went down here for the Fanfury Open Championship.
Well, walking through the brackets, right, we did see a lot of 2-0s yesterday. The round of 16, while it was interesting to watch, but was pretty lopsided for the most part. But then again, the quarterfinals as well. The first quarterfinal, not the best. But then again, the quality of matches have really improved in the last 2 quarterfinals. And now, of course, the semifinals coming up. Both the last 2 quarterfinals, right, going to the third game. Now it's a best of 5.
Yep, it's
So
going to
you
be
do get
full
more
compositions,
chances.
bro.
What?
Yeah,
At the same
definitely.
time.
It's just full compositions, full decks. You gotta be able to react on the spot. I wouldn't be surprised to see like a full 5 game all the way through. But at the same time, it is a semifinal, so it all comes down to adaptations. DK has pretty much shown himself. DVJ as well. Famous Kid, little low on the radar. So far, the only info we have coming from him is that he does play E-Giants a lot. But of course, you guys wondering as well, this is going to be the schedule for today. We are going to be seeing Famous Kid going up against Noisy Boy in the first semi-finals here in the top 4, and then proceeding with DK and DVJ later on.
Oh, absolutely. But here's the thing. So, wait, no. So I was saying, right, the best of 5, you do get more chances, but at the same time, to win that matchup, you have to be more consistent as well.
Agreed.
We've seen decks being changed up in the 3rd game, but now with the possibility of 5 potential games, how many strategies can you possibly come out with? Because at the end of the day, sure, there are like n number of permutation and combinations, but going off meta can work out in your favor, but at the same time, it's also really, really risky.
I think when it comes to conversation like this, when it comes to bans, right, a safe ban would be banning off AQ for sure. Like any conversation, any decks that you play, as long as it's an AQ with it, whatever variation it is, AQ has the tendency to actually win the game. So banning it off as a safety measure and play something else is going to be great. But I don't know. Let's take a look at what it is, because we are going to be jumping straight into the first game so far. It seems like it is not going to be AQ bans. It is going to be minor as well as Graveyard being banned off from both Noisy Boy as well as Famous Kid.
And, well, is it still going to be one of those chip decks? Yes, we do have the skeleton cycle coming up, but at the same time, no response from Noisy Boy. Well, does not need to respond to the skeletons, which are not going to dish out any damage, but the Walk coming in, and yet, finally, the Skeleton King. So, yeah, this does look really promising.
Oh, this is a little bit tough for you, considering that the Skeleton matchup was forced to use preemptively against the Valkyrie. Means that oh no, here comes the AQ from Famous Kid on top of it all. This is actually a good trade coming from Famous Kid, but as of now, he pops the skill activation. He won't get value from the barrel as well as the Skeleton King. And here comes the Hawk Rider to second the motion. But the Tornado coming from Noisy Boy for King Tower activation means that Noisy Boy is gonna have a pretty darn good time with this composition against Famous Kid.
Oh, absolutely. Did take a lot of damage though, but now this is when it starts getting interesting. He can start chipping away, but the question is, does he have anything to chip away with? Because that Fire Spirit is still going to dish out enough damage. We do have the Golem, so it's a really heavy card to play, but can work out for you. No defense though. Oh, we do have a defense, so the Skeleton King cycle coming up, but is that going to be enough?
Yeah, it seems like he's gonna get a little bit of souls here to actually go in for a skeleton re-swarm push. So this is a huge push coming from Noisy Boy. I'm not exactly sure how Famous Kid is gonna respond to this. It seems like the Inferno Tower will be a play. This is gonna be a-okay, but a huge swarm is coming in. He needs to find a way to clear all this, but Archer Queen is here, and this is gonna be a big one for him. But as of yet, Famous Kid doing a fantastic job defending against this, but he still takes a lot of damage on his bottom right tower.
That was so risky, but at the same time, that was so confident. Look at that fireball, though. Dishing out damage, not just to the tower, but to the AQ as well. With the bomb barrel coming in, we'll take out the AQ. Needs to defend, but, well, we do have the Tombstone coming up, which is going to kite away the Hog Rider.
Well, seems like production is a little bit on the upper hand. They know that he's got a good senses as well. They are predicting Noisy Boy is gonna be winning this game, but as of yet, he seems to be looking like it because we are down towards the last 32 seconds, and Famous Kid is losing in terms of trade. He's gonna go for the all-in on the bottom left, on the top left instead, and AQ is gonna be able to get a little bit more value out of it, but the Lava Glow comes in alongside the Skullhounds as well, so that is gonna be a very, very easy takedown on towards the Inferno Tower. However, the Witch as well with the Fireball will be chunked away, but Famous Kid defends it very, very nicely done. So far it's not over yet for Famous Kid.
It is not over for him, but he needs to keep the pressure up. He cannot take a step back, and the SK coming out preemptively. He knew he was going to go for the left lane, and he's going to try and defend along with the Barb Barrel as well. So a counter push coming in, but the AQ is going to try and stop them off. The Golem still coming up. Now the question is, how much of a push are we going to see over here? Because he can definitely use the Tornado as well in an offensive maneuver.
Yep, seems like Hall Rider is going to coming in as well, get a little bit more damage. Tombstone will lure his attention away, but AQ skill comes in. Oh no, it's not going to benefit and take the Scale Miners. That means there is going to be some sort of leak here unless Famous Kid is able to stall his way through. But now chip damage on the bottom left tower here is not going to do too much for Famous Kid. But as of yet, this is going to be a big trouble. Here comes the Valkyrie, gets lured to the bottom right to clear off the golems, and it's going to be A-okay. But all in all, I'm surprised Famous Kid is still able to trade pretty well against Noisy Boy despite the circumstances.
Despite the circumstances, he has been playing brilliantly, but at the same time, Noisy Boy is reading the game really well. But the question over here is he going to have enough time to mount a counter-attack? Because right now, Famous Kid suddenly just stealing the momentum of the game. He has chipped away with more damage, but the question is he going to be able to last the 50 seconds that he needs to last and also save himself? Because the defense is going to be imperative. The Tornado coming in, and this is when it might actually go against Famous Kid.
Wow, great response coming from Noisy Boy as well. Famous Kid tried to use the lock to clear the Tombstone Skeletons, hoping that Hawk Rider is going to be able to chip on the top left. Unfortunately, was reacted by Noisy Boy with the Tornado. But this time, his response is going to be near identical. But it seems like Famous Kid will not struggle to actually deal with this with the Valk on top of it. Oh, here comes the lock and the skill, but here comes the Scale Miner and the Swamp comes in. But the AQ and the clutch moment comes in. But the Tornado and the Fireball is going to come in, eventually popping the King Tower activation for Famous Kid. So that means it is going to be very difficult to push this unless they go for spells. And here comes the Fireball coming from Famous Kid. They're trading with spells. They know they need to come up on top, but it seems like Noisy Boy gets a sneak, but another Fireball on the bottom left, and Famous Kid clutches it in the last 1 second with the Fireball on the top left. Oh my goodness, what a clutch from Famous Kid.
This is unbelievable. This is I could see you get off the chair, by the way. I could just see the excitement, because at the end, right, just cycling through the fireballs along with the log, and the pressure created by the Hog Rider was unbelievable, and he actually got the better of him. And you could see the frustration. You could see the frustration of that loss on the face.
Yeah, Noisy Boy, he had perfect control, but somehow Famous Kid was able to cycle through and got the decks that he wanted, and he understood that if he wants to mess with his little golems here, he needs to be able to clear this, and the only way he wins this is that his Archer Queen is getting a lot of value when he casts a spell, and every single times it as well, he's been very patient as well. He knows that, for example, a barrel comes in, the Archer Queen is going to get taken out. Why do I want to spend the 1 elixir to use it? I only use it when I need the Archer Queen to perform the most. And he did it really, really well. And you can see that there was a little bit of mix-up coming from Noisy Boy to focus on Archer Queen and maybe waste that 1 elixir. But because of the overcommitment with the Tornado, with the Fireball, especially the bottom right, Noisy Boy completely lost the trade, allowed a small window of a crack for Famous Boy to actually trade the top left. So that was very, very sick.
It was sick. It was a very, very risky maneuver, but it worked out for him at the end. And at the same time, this goes on to show immense understanding of the game, immense understanding of the deck, and the timing required. But also at the same time, the sort of play style that he had at the end, it's going all in, right? It's all or nothing, and it clearly worked out for him.
Yeah, definitely as well. But is this going to be the same deck? Again, not exactly sure. But Famous Kid this time, he is going to be playing the patient game. It seems like both teams looking for the response again. But it seems... Oh, no, I know what deck is this. Famous Kid showing the Electro Spirit means... there is a very high possibility that Famous Kid is playing the E-Giant composition. But no, it looks like... Okay, Fisherman's instead. All right, I don't know what deck is this anymore.
I'm surprised though. Why didn't he just go for the King Tower activation over there?
I think he's cycling his decks first. He's trying to find the cards that he wants first before actually playing for any sort of King Tower activation later on. But it's still going to be difficult, and it seems like Zappies is on his way. So I am expecting potentially Zappies Royal Giant, or maybe even Zappies Electro Giant from Famous Kid. But nope, it is going to be Scale Miner. So I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty confident on the last two is going to be Royal Giants coming from Famous Kid.
Fair enough, I guess, but at the same time, look at this. The amount of pressure which is being mounted over here is unbelievable. There's going to be a lot of damage. Oh, the lightning coming in clutch. But this is a King Tower activation I was talking about, right? This is exactly what I was talking about. He has a Fisherman, has to reel him in, and this is when the defense grows really strong, but a lot of damage has already been dealt. This is going to be impossible to defend. 888 points of health left. You could just keep cycling your lightning at the end of the game if you can keep the defense up.
I really don't know how Famous Kid is gonna come back from this, considering that how much of a lead that Noisy Boy has gotten, right? It's more than half here. Usually in this kind of scenario, it's pretty much GG push all the way through. But yes, it is gonna be the Royal Giant being played coming from Famous Kid, and I don't think he's gonna be able to respond to this. The AQ is gonna be able to deal with Scale Miners, but so far the lightning switch up with the from Noisy Boy to deal with the AQ is pretty much a big clutch coming from Noisy Boy to deal with this.
Oh no, the Scale Dragon's coming in as well. This is going to be almost impossible to hold up. But the Tornado is going to start reeling them in. So much damage being dished out. It is so unfortunate. But, well, finally, Famous Kid almost coming out on top in this fight. He does have the counter push going in, but is it going to be enough? That is a question. It doesn't look like it. The Royal Giant just moving up, but the Lightning dishing so much damage. He can try and chip away with the loss, but it's not going to be worth it.
Yeah, the Famous Kid is struggling against this Lightning right now. And whatever high value cards that he has right now, it's easily countered by the Lightning. And I think this is pretty much game for Famous Kid. There's no way that he's going to be able to make a comeback for this unless Noisy Boy makes a serious mistake. And this time, here comes the Lava Golem on the Rob side as well. Zappies on top of it all is going to be having a very difficult time with the Barbarian Barrel coming in. He isn't going to be able to survive this. Electro Spirit comes in. This might be game for Noisy Boy. Bottom right, Lava Golem comes in. There's no way. Oh, the Fisherman Tornado to stop the Fisherman coming in. And this is well played coming from Noisy Boy. I think that is game. Does he have enough damage? Yes, he will. And that is going to be game 2 secured by Noisy Boy. You can see the sigh of relief. The outplays coming from Noisy Boy. What a game.
You know what's funny about this? The fact that his opponent actually had a smile on his face, even though he lost the game. Even he had admiration for the way he played. It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It seems like understanding that Famous Kid has the tendency to lean on Archer Queens, and game number 1, you can see the immediate reactions and adaptations from Noisy Boy saying that, hey, I don't know how to deal with this Archer Queen. He loves playing his Archer Queen. He baits it up really, real well. Why not take it out of the equation? Because the entire deck coming from Famous Kid relies on those Archer Queen getting a lot of value trades, and taking out of the equation means that he's not going to be able to do much about it. Scale Bombers are extremely terrible to getting value. Royal Giant is extremely terrible at getting value just because it's only going to do structural damage. And besides the Archer Queen, what else? What else can Famous Kid do in this situation? Lava Golem, the Fisherman, looks good. Fisherman, immediately countered by the Tornado. I was like, damn, there was just a hard counter coming from Noisy Boy from game number 2.
It wasn't even just a hard counter, right? This was an absolute outclass coming in, and this was a masterclass in using the Tornado. He made sure that every time he was mounting an attack, he knew exactly what to do. He knew what the deck was and the perfect counters for it as well. So all in all, really well played.
Yeah, nicely done. I'm looking forward to see how Famous Kid is going to be able to adapt. But because now we're going to be jumping straight into game number 3 between both Famous Kid as well as Noisy Boy. Best of 5 series. This is going to be the game number 3 with 1 win coming from Famous Kid, 1 win from Noisy Boy. Anything can happen. It's all about rock, paper, scissors now. How will Famous Kid respond to game number 3?
Well, I guess we'll find out. Only time can tell on how this is going to work out. But Famous Kid needs to make a comeback over here because he doesn't want to give away the momentum. And both these players is waiting for a response. You think this could be a Ram deck?
It might be, knowing that Famous Kid has shown the Scale Bomber as well as Royal Giants means that there is a possibility that he may bring in a very similar playstyle. Zappies, once again, might be identical, maybe a little bit of variations. Instead of going for that, he's going for Electro Giants. I wouldn't be surprised, but likewise coming from Noisy Boy as well, showing for Electro Spirit. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it if they go for it if they want to, but Famous Kid is going to get a little bit of value with the Zappies here. Fisherman comes in, so means that Noisy Boy is going to be playing potentially Famous Kid's deck with a little bit of plot twist from game number 2. Yes, it is going to be same one here. It is going to be Skeleton Bombers and potentially Royal Giants coming in from Noisy Boy. Identical coming from Famous Kid as well.
True, but here's my question: the sort of pressure that Noisy Boy had the last time, it's not going to be easy to replicate that. But at the same time, the AQ is getting so much value right now, right? But the Royal Giant with the counter push, this is interesting to see the split lane strategy coming up over here, along with the fireball going in, and the Royal Giant is going to get a lot of value over here.
Oh, here comes the Zap. The Fisherman wants to go in for hold, but Electro Spirit stops in the time. So that's going to be a little bit more chip damage coming in from the Royal Giant from Famous Kid. So it is going to be a mirror matchup. I believe this to be a mirror matchup coming from Famous Kid as well as Noisy Boy. Near identical, I think.
Possibly, yeah. It's almost out there, but again, just coming out on top with regards to the damage, right? But the log coming in, I'm not quite sure. With the log on the left side, of course, you're going to stop the Zappies from coming in again. The counter Zappies along with this Scale Bomber. But here's my question, right? The AQ, you think they're going to try and keep on pressuring the right lane, or is this just a fake for the Royal Giant to go left?
It might be the case. It comes to a scenario, right? But as you can see, the Fisherman is going to be happening as well. And yes, like you predicted, it's going to be split push pressure coming from Famous Kid to deal with this. However, Famous Kid getting the better trades out of this just because he was a little bit preemptive against Noisy Boy, but it's not too much that Noisy Boy could not handle this. But as of now, in terms of trades, the Royal Giants coming from Famous Kid has been stuck through multiple times, and Famous Kid is this time for him to stick his way through. However, his Fisherman is not going to be able to pull the Royal Giant for the left tower. That means he will lose in this trade, and Famous Kid this time, he's going to go full offense on the left side.
I'm not sure if this would have been the best option over here, but look at this, Royal Giant being pulled in, but at the same time, the Giant Skeleton doing so much damage on the right, and the left tower, top left tower being taken out. Famous Kid making a comeback. Noisy Boy needs to try and come up with something else. Last game was really easy for him, but this one, he was the one being outclassed.
Well played in coming in from Famous Kid as well. It's really rare to see identical mirror matchups coming this page, and for Famous Kid to understand that if he gets the upper hand in and he gets a little bit better placement, he will come up on top. And you can see multiple times that they were. I think Noisy Boy is very reactive to Fisherman, and for Famous Kid to actually adapt from based on Game 2's performance, that he tends to have this tendency to react to clutch units such as Fisherman, such as the Archer Queen itself. He did intentionally bait it out multiple times, and when Noisy Boys respond to that, that means that was an opportunity for Famous Kid to break through. So there was a little bit of a slight, like 1-2 minuscule plays that gave Famous Kid in terms of experience the upper edge in that matchup.
Oh, absolutely. There was definitely this. You did mention the Famous Kid being preemptive with his moves, right? And that sort of time advantage does definitely work out in your favor if you play your cards right. But over here, talking about identical decks, right? I don't think we've seen an absolute identical deck so far in the tournament.
Yeah, this is the first time we've seen it. We saw a couple of mirror matchups, but with a little bit of a variation so far. But near identical, similar matchup from the get-go, this is the first for us here in the tournament. And it just shows you how strong the deck itself it is. But like I said as well, playing this kind of composition relies on you applying a lot of split push pressure and banging on your clutch Fisherman to actually draw aggro from the team. And I think there was only once that Noisy Boy was able to do it on top side, but even that one time, it wasn't enough because there was just so much value coming from the Royal Giant trade-offs.
Yeah, but again, Famous Kid, right? Knew exactly what to do. You didn't mention split strategy is the best way to go. And with the amount of pressure that was mounting on the right side with the Giant Skeleton and the AQ, the Royal Giant had a free pass on the left lane. That is what allowed him to get that initial advantage going up. And then eventually he could just go out there and get the top left tower easy as they come. And it was just a brilliant strategy, even though the decks were the same, but he just had the upper hand with the way he understood and used the deck.
Yeah, it's all about reading your opponents, right? And so far, Noisy Boy is doing a fantastic job at responding. Likewise, coming from Famous Kid. I'm looking for to see how Game 4 is going to be happening because we're jumping straight into its the best of 5 series. Noisy Boy is currently 2-1 in. Sorry, Famous Kid is currently 2-1 against Noisy Boy as of yet. And this time, is this going to be identical matchup? Nope. It seems like there is going to be a little bit of mix up. Wait a minute. What is going on? Mirror again?
Potentially, this could be a mirror, but we'll figure that out right now. Not a lot of damage being dished out. Both the players going in for the same thing, but Goblin Cage, huh?
I like the Goblin Cage as well. It's just so much value to actually build for a Swarm. So if you do not have like AQ or big AoE wave clear, this Goblin Cage is going to be able to benefit from a lot of situations, especially against baiting out massive turrets. But same time, Famous Kid will bring in the Electro Giant. So this might be a mirror matchup once again. The Electro Giant is still going to be baited out. And hopefully, the Goblin Cage is going to be able to trade a little bit more. But now, here comes the Snowball with the Musketeer. This Electro Giant gets countered very easily. Nicely done coming from Noisy Boy.
Oh, absolutely, but the defense needs to start coming in right now. He knows exactly how much he needs to spend, but the Golden Knight is going to come in. Not a lot of value coming in from the Golden Knight, unless, of course, he's able to charge in, which is not going to happen. But the Barbell going in, can that dish out damage with the Mega Minion? Well, he is going to be able to get a strike in, but nothing more than that.
Yep. Goblin Cage still available. Here comes the Ice Wizard being shown from Famous Kid. So there is going to be a little bit of a slight variation coming in from both composition. Noisy Boy is able to react to Electro Giant, but it seems like Famous Kid needs to figure a way to bait out the Goblin Cage rather early before the Electro Giant comes in. But seems like it is going to be baited out. So this time he is going to be setting on the left side instead. So he will try and force it out. And considering how slow the Electro Giant is going to be walking out, by the time he reaches the Goblin Cage, he will most likely sneak into the left side.
He will, but I'm really surprised with the way it's all turning. Oh, the recruits coming in to hold the line with the Barb Barrel. This is going to be a lot of damage with the lightning coming in as a counter. But the question is, can the E-Giant dish out damage? I don't think so, but the Tornado taking away, trying to chip away all the damage. Ice Wiz coming in again, but taking a lot of damage in the process.
Oh, a little bit of mistake from Famous Kid as well. He tried to go for the Tornado and didn't go for the King Tower activation. Means that he is going to lose out into the trades. And there was a couple of chunks in, but the Royal Recruits definitely caught him by surprise because for him to play it is just brilliant as well because he's going to be able to build a healthy Swarm along with the Goblin Cage later on. And Famous Kid, he has to leak his way through to wait for the right timing to fight this. And here comes the Balloon. Oh my goodness, Noisy Boy, he's bringing in the Balloon. The Goblin Cage just expiring as well. He's not going to be able to draw aggro for this, but is he going to be able to defend? But seems like the Tornado will be fine. So, too close to be called comfort there for Famous Kid.
Oh, absolutely too close for comfort over there, but the baby dragon does get a bit of damage. He needs to defend really well. He does have the lightning, he does have a tornado to work with. Could use it offensively. The question is, does he have enough to be able to mount a counter attack? Does use a lightning. Goblin Cage being destroyed right there. But the Royal Recruits with the defense is going to make it really tough for them. But the Snowball again just taking away the pace that he had, creating a lot of space, and this could potentially be a massive mix-up.
Oh, big Tornado coming from Famous Kid, luring the Musketeer away, allowing the chip onto the right side. Famous Kid, he might actually get the win, and yes, he will. What a clutch coming from Famous Kid. Congratulations to him because he took that game very convincingly against the Noisy Boy. A beautiful 3-1 against Noisy Boy.
And you know the Tornado at the end taking over Musketeer and pushing him on the left lane, right? Of course, he made sure that his attack does not get any more damage than it needs to. At the same time, did not allow him to mount a counter attack on the right lane. That was so good. And again, using the Tornado in an offensive maneuver can get dicey, but he used it to perfection.
Well, Famous Kid, you know, we knew for a fact he came in with achievements as well. A global ranker, a global tournament player coming in towards the tournament itself shows you why he is in the global stages. And he is currently in the finals. Is he the one to take it all the way? We don't exactly know, but currently he is sitting in top 2. So well done indeed. And of course, props towards Noisy Boy as well, because he was an underdog story as well. The only player representing from Indonesia, making us out for a pretty commendable achievement. And on top of all, giving Famous Kid a run for his money. That was a pretty exciting match to watch.
Not just giving him a run for his money, at the same time making sure that this match stays alive. It's not over yet. We've seen three games with completely different outcomes, and of course, a new deck this time around to see this variation that came along. But the sort of comeback, the game got done in the last 30 seconds. Up until then, it felt like Famous Kid might be on the back foot, but the last 30 seconds proved otherwise.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's all about timing and patience, right? And when it comes to patience like this, the only other player that has pretty much won his game with this kind of variation is pretty much DBJ. But before we talk about the next matchup here, let's go through the highlights of how Famous Kid as well as Noisy Boy ditched out in this best of 5 series in the semifinals.
Oh well, first game, right? This is where it started getting really tricky. I believe it was a Famous Kid that came out on top. Noisy Boy was really upset, but then eventually, when he did understand what went wrong, he came out with all guns blazing in game number 2. But then again, the one thing I realized, right, Noisy Boy was definitely getting a lot of value from the fireball.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Noisy Boy, he uses Fireball to actually counter an AQ, but you can see multiple times Famous Kid was able to clutch with his Archer Queen a lot in terms of all these trades, right? He was able to get so much value, and eventually it came down to the last tick where he was able to get the like 700 deficit in terms of HP on his tower and trade it off very, very well against Noisy Boy. So that just shows you experience, right? When we come about phases, there's phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Over time is pretty much 2x, and the moment after that, it's going to be 3x elixir. And when you hit to that stage, it all comes down about decision making and how well you build out your elixir and efficiently use it well. And that is where Famous Kid excels a little bit more compared to Noisy Boy. And multiple times you can see the frustrations coming from Noisy Boy responding to this, knowing that, oh, he lost just because he doesn't understand how to play phase 3 a little bit better. And Famous Kid is just showing you that why experience plays a huge factor. And this is one thing that is very underrated being from Famous Kid, was that whenever you drop a card, as soon as you reach like 10 elixirs, you have the tendency to like, oh no, I've got 10 elixirs, I do not want to waste it, I tentatively want to drop something to respond. That is a very, very, I would say a common habit that most of us want to do. But for Famous Kid's response is that, oh, I should be doing this, but at the same time, the minion placements and the army from the side of Noisy Boy's position is not past the bridge threat. If I drop this now, if my army meets on his side of the bridge, I am going to lose the trade. So he voluntarily takes like a couple of leaks before placing down his army, which is a very underrated move, even though it's very wasting of elixirs, but it was a necessary one to win the war. So that was a very clutch moment coming from Famous Kid.
It was definitely a clutch moment coming in for him, but at the same time, it's just brilliant that both these players are not giving up right now, and they've just been going at it. But let's have a look at the schedule as well at the same time to try and figure out what is coming up for us. But the semifinals, really exciting. This entire tournament, as a matter of fact, the early games, right? I thought it was a lot of action, but I've been proven wrong because of the amount of action that we're seeing today is not even comparable to yesterday.
Oh, that's why it gets better, man. Like, we had this early discussion as well. Is the game's gonna be good? I guarantee you it's gonna be really, really good. These are the best of the best out of all the players from every single country coming into this play. This may not be the world stage, but it is close enough considering that the amount of countries involved in this competition as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see who is gonna be the ones that make it on top. Currently, Famous Kid is there. And like I said as well, the viewers are hoping to see a Famous Kid DVJ matchup. However, speaking of underdogs, DK is definitely the underdog coming in towards the tournament as well. He's making it top 4. He's got a decent amount of ranking, but achievement-wise, DVJ has got the upper hand in terms of experience. So I'm looking forward to see how DK plays against DVJ in this best of 5 series.
True, but for all the Indian fans, this matchup is going to be a little bit of a disappointment. I'll tell you why, right? Because both these players are Indians, and one of them is going to go out.
Well, you know what's on the bright side? There's still going to be one Indian team in towards the grand finals later on, because eventually I'm a little bit sad that Malaysia has kind of lost a little bit early, but I'm happy my neighbor is here at the grand finals from Singapore. Famous Kid representing. But yeah, all in all, I'm looking forward to see how the next matchup is, right? DVJ has showed that he's got a lot of skills in that, and obviously, even myself, the viewers as well, some of them saying that, hey, maybe it's going to be a DVJ Famous Kid. And you, Mamba, you love an underdog story. You love a revenge one as well. Do you think DK stands a chance against DVJ?
It's going to be difficult to say honestly because the DVJ definitely looks a lot more promising because of the way he maintained his composure, right? Because at the highest level, it's all about not making mistakes. Because the other player also has the same amount of skill as you, maybe just a tad bit here and there, but at the same time, you don't want to make mistake. The temperament, right, is really important, and that is what I really believe. Being able to take those bold decisions, being able to take the risk, and of course convert that into full opportunities is something that we've seen DVJ do. DK, on the other hand, did not have to do that. So I'm not sure how this is going to go. The one thing I know is that you and I were going up against each other in the grand finals.
My neighbor, sorry, my neighbor. But at the same time, I'm looking forward to see. Okay, so far we've raved about DVJ, we've raved about Famous Kid. DK so far has proven one of the biggest upsets here in the quarterfinals. So I think some of the fans as well, they were here supporting for Silk Smoke a lot. For him to bow out in quarterfinals rather early was a little bit of an unexpected factor as well, because I think you were expecting that, hey, maybe he was going to take the hit. I personally as well was expecting that Silk Smoke is going to win the game against DK, but DK was able to get a one-up against them. So I'm looking forward to see how he performs right now, because this is going to be the second semifinals between DVJ versus DK, with DVJ on the red side.
Oh, look at this. The scale battle coming in immediately as a response to the tombstone. And I mean, yeah, it's an even trade, right? But the Goblin battle, this is where it starts getting interesting. But the quick counter, again, even Elixir trade completely even on both the ends, but the log coming in to try and chip away. What's the answer to this?
This is a very interesting ban coming from DVJ as well. He bans the Earthquake, knowing that he did lose a game against Mohsin early on. So I think this trauma starting to kick in those his gameplay, where he lost just because of the Earthquake. So he might be playing a potential poison composition again, but seems like he does have the Goblin Barrel, he does have the Royal Delivery, so I wouldn't be surprised to see the poison later on in comparison to the Earthquake where Mohsin played early on.
Possible, but ooh, the graveyard coming in, and this could definitely be really difficult to deal with. We do have the Goblin Dart, but at the same time, the arrows, the log, everything trying to clear it up, but has taken up a lot of damage. We do have the Gauze along with the Golden Knight chipping away, but the Bats are going to come in, taking up a lot of damage yet again. Was this an even trade? I don't think so.
Oh, that was a very expensive trade coming from DK as well. He popped his graveyard rather early, showing his cards with 5 Exeter. It's barely even over time yet. And because of that, he's not going to be able to respond with all this Golden Knight. Because if the Golden Knight position was a little bit better from DVJ, then the damage on towards DK's tower would have been even more expensive to work with. However, he gets a little bit trade-offs with the snowball to get a value from it. But aside from that, I don't think it's enough. DVJ still got this in the bag.
I mean, I've at least taken my own decisions early on in the game and have been proven wrong, especially with DVJ and DK, both of them being in the game. But let's see what happens over here. We definitely do see DK taking up a lot of damage. But at the same time, this is where, of course, the SK and the Giant going in. And, ooh, again, the Gob battle. Does he have any defense? He does. A snowball, but that's not going to be enough. But a counter push, not a possibility right now.
Oh, I was expecting an early Golden Knight push from DVJ with his skill, considering the amount of horror that the Skeleton King has pretty much built up in terms of his composition. But unfortunately, he didn't exactly pocket it off, but he was able to defend against this. However, DK looking to ramp up with the Giants instead, and the Inferno Tower preemptively set up from DVJ is going to be able to respond to this. However, DK now, he needs to time the minions spawns a little bit earlier for the Inferno Tower to dodge his way through, but unfortunately he's not gonna get the spawn and horde energy that he's gonna get. But it looks like he is gonna finally pop it out and escort the Giant to try and potentially get damage out of it. But unfortunately, DVJ is also gonna be sneaking his Goblin Barrel on the bottom left.
True, but this is where the deck starts playing the deck starts playing to its full potential, because DK does have a heavy deck, and this extra elixir is definitely going to help. But the problem is he needs to mount the defense as well. He's taking up a lot of damage. Needs to go in for a massive pressure push, but does he have enough? That is the question. A lot of elixir being used up, but DK has blown up. He knows it's over for him.
Yeah, so much value from this ram coming from DBJ as well. He knows that Golden Knight completely outclassed the SK in this kind of situations. And yeah, the Golden Knight was able to do too much. And even with the Infernal Tower as well, in case something goes really, really big. So I like how DBJ loves playing his defensive composition. And once again, a good defense is sometimes a great offense. And that is the strategy that DBJ has been playing throughout his entire grouping. And it's worked out. It seems like he might actually take the cake if this continues. And DK needs to figure a way to break his playstyle as of yet, or does he mirror it? But so far, Mohsin is pretty much the only guy that actually took a win against DBJ by mirroring his playstyle, but with a little bit twist, which is the Earthquake. Unfortunately, the Earthquake will be banned, and I think DK chose to go for the Graveyard instead of the Poison, which is a slightly more expensive version and didn't get value out of it. So it's just super unfortunate.
I have a question. You said defense could be the best offense, sure, in context of Clash Royale, but in the outside world, it was definitely offense is the best defense. And we've seen these players turn it all around, right? We've seen them turn it all around, just getting that chip damage away and making sure they just hold the line. That's all they have to do. It's working out for them. And if something is not broken, don't change it, right? That's all. That's at least what I believe. But at the same time, the problem with that is you can get really, really predictable.
True. It is a little bit predictable, but that's the thing, right? It's hard to say who's the best fighters, right, in the world. If you compare it with the animals itself, a turtle itself, why does a turtle have a very, very hard shell? He plays a turtle, but at the same time, a snapping turtle can be very, very deadly if you give him the opportunity to strike. So I think that's the idea coming in from DBJ's playstyle, but I agree where you're coming from as well. Aggression is key, and so far, I think Famous Kid has the tendency to play that kind of playstyle. So the way you described it, it feels like this might be a Famous Kid versus DBJ matchup in the finals later on. But hopefully, and I mean hopefully, DK is able to bounce back in game number 2.
Hopefully, yeah, absolutely. But let's just figure this out. Whoa! Early mortar placement. Look, this is a good count, right? But it's not something you expect early game, at least not in that position, just guarding one lane.
4 for 4, you know, nothing much lost. You know, it's still an equal trade, even though Tesla slightly won a little bit. But aside from that, looks like it is going to be an early Skeleton King coming in from DBJ. But the Magic Archer gets a little bit of value from the chip damage by going through in the angle. So nicely done. But DBJ immediately responding once again by going for the defense, and he is going to be able to build a ramp. Tornado comes in, stops in the track, and it's going to be a-okay. Pops the skill activation a little bit late, forces a little bit more out of DK with the logs, but somehow, does he get one more auto attack? No, he does not, but DK winning the trade. Ooh la la, big outplay there.
That was spicy, that was really spicy when DBJ in disbelief the way DK actually managed this, but this is where it starts getting interesting. The Dark Prince coming in, and we do have the Cannon card going up against it, and the Miner, and no, sorry, the Goblin Drill coming out. Now this is where it starts getting interesting. The Tornado as well. Is this going to work out for him?
Oh, we've seen this before as well in this previous variation. The Dart Goblin to deal with the Goblin Drill is not exactly the most efficient way, and looks like you might be right. DK, it might actually stand a better chance in this game. He doesn't have a very good response against his Goblin Drill composition, and looks like he is going to play good for the switch up because his defense is not working out at all.
His defense might not be working out, but here's the question for all the audience members, right? Who do you think is going to come out on top? Would definitely love to know your take, but at the same time, look at the number of cards played, right? Even in this early game, we do know for a fact that DK has a lighter deck, being able to cycle through really, really quickly. The Skeleton Army being countered by the Tornado is brilliant.
Yeah, it's really smart as well. The Magic Archer sneaking in damage against DBJ is what's giving him the upper hand. The Magic Archer is something that is very undervalued, and it's surprised enough that he was able to pull off. But this time, offensive plays coming from DBJ with the Mortar to actually go in for the setup and on top of the card cannon. However, the Knight on the side is going to be able to get value. But once again, another Magic Archer sneaking in damage from the side of DK, just getting so much value out of all these trades. However, a big core coming from DBJ. Is it going to be able to return the favor? And the Tornado completely clears him out. Beautiful, beautiful defense coming from DK.
I'm just going to say one thing. DK played this to absolute perfection. He knows exactly how to use the magic archer because the positioning is really, really necessary. And if you get that wrong, you might not be able to get all the damage in the world that you need. And he knows the magic archer can go through targets and dish out damage. That's exactly what he's doing. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
Exactly. This time DVJ will respond with the Skeleton King, knowing that the Magic Archer is in cycle. He is going to be trying to get a little bit more value, but DK quickly cycles through it and gets it back online. Gets straight off with the Fireball and preemptively Tesla. So DVJ is not giving it up yet. He is fighting back a little bit more, but this time going full offense instead of defense.
Absolutely, but here's the thing, right? This is exactly what I meant by offense being the best defense because he does have the cards to play with. Oh, the Magic Archer again just going out, dishing out damage. Now this is where the Goblin Drill comes in really handy. He can go in for a sneaky push, but does he have the time? Does he need to defend himself? This might be the perfect time to go for it if he can cycle through really quickly. But the Dark Prince going in is going to try and attack the Mortar. Yes, the Mortar is out, but the Skeleton King coming in to try and counter that. Is this going to be enough? Nope, he doesn't even need to use the drill right now.
Goodness. DK playing the Magic Archer to perfection. Whenever he gets an opportunity to chip his way through, he is going to force it. But this time, he'll finally show the Goblin Drill and go in for the Tornado and gets the win against DVJ. What a sneaky plan coming from DK. Very cheesy strategy, but it worked out in his favor. What a turnaround coming from the games. Yeah, definitely. And for him to have double variations in his offense, that was really, really sick. I thought for a second it is going to be a Goblin Drill chip, but no! Magic Archer is the way to deal with Mortars, and it's something that I think DVJ wasn't prepared, and it's very unique as well throughout all the games we've seen today. And yesterday.
Practically the first time we've seen Magic Archer be used the way it's meant to be used if you know how to use it properly. And the positioning was impeccable. The first three drops, or the first two drops I believe, were perfectly placed, and that is the reason why he was able to chip away at the tower. If it did not use the Magic Archer, right, or if it did not have the Magic Archer, I do believe DVJ would have been able to come on top of this one.
Yeah, it was a very reactive composition. It solely depends on the positionings of your opponent's respawn, and I like how he was able to turn it around against and I would say punish all this placements with DVJ. That is very, very crucial. We know DVJ is very good at playing structural defense, etc. But for him to outplay his specialty and turn his strength into his weakness, that was clutch coming from DK, and I did not expect him to bounce back really well. And it might truly be an underdog story if he takes the full 3-1 against DVJ, which is very, very difficult, but it is a best of 5 series. We are going to see multiple variations, and so far we've seen full defense coming from DVJ. Is he gonna switch up? I don't know. I'm looking forward to see whether he does do so.
I mean, here's the thing, right? It's not even about switching up the decks at this point. It's because Magic Archer, who would have thought? None of us, right? None of us have even mentioned him remotely.
Yeah.
And it is going to be a lot of mind games to play. I think DK definitely has the momentum in his favor, has definitely put up a lot of pressure on DVJ as well. So DVJ will have to come out with something magical, which he has not shown throughout the tournament. Take a massive gamble and see if it works out for him.
Yeah, and so far Mortar composition has not worked out for unfortunately most of these games. Well, like I said, it's very skill-based card to play, very difficult to execute, and I think in terms of win rate of an entire tournament as well, the Mortar compositions, they have like a 20% win rate so far. It's very, very difficult to play. So I hope that it goes up a little bit better, but let's take a look at how the game goes, because this is going to be game number 3 between DVJ as well as DK, with DVJ on the red side.
Yeah, but the Skeleton King going in pretty early this time around, so it is quite, I would say, ambitious, but the Dark Goblin being taken out right there, and the guards going in, but is this going to be enough? I think, yeah, it is going to be enough.
Definitely, for sure. Here comes the Electro Wizard as well, trying to escort his way through. So I don't think it's not much of an issue. It's more like they want to cycle and keep the important cards for themselves. You can see even the log as well has been used. Means that Graveyard immediately drops from DK. This is a very, very good punish, but can he get out of it as well? With the Snowball to help with Dark Goblin, he was able to get a lot of chip damage because of this. So great reactions coming from DK for this match.
Great reactions coming in, but look at that, so quick on that one. Electro Spirit being taken out just like that. Dark Goblin does dish out damage, but Archers! It's been a while since I saw Archers.
Oh, we did see a couple of archers here. It's just super underrated, but it gets the job done to a certain degree. I used to play a lot of archers, but it's just not in the meta. But at the same time, it's great at chipping away skeletons or even goblins as well, because it can ramp up for a later stage of the game. So as of yet, with the
Are
Valkyrie,
you calling me outdated because I use archers?
No, no, I didn't say that. I didn't imply that, but yeah. I,
But now
yeah.
the core battles, right? They are going to go in, and it is going to push out the Scale King. But the question is, how much damage is he going to be able to take before he actually succumbs to this? Look at the Inferno Tower placement. He knows the right lane is not being pushed, but I'm not sure what this placement is like, because it could have been a little more towards the center, don't you think?
It seems like DK is playing the a game once competition where he wants to benefit from this graveyard, but he's saving up for a very, very long time, at least until like maybe a Valkyrie or the log gets cleared off before he actually goes in. But it seems like it is gonna be the rockets coming from DBJ to play this and clear off a Mega Minion. So he is gonna be able to overcommit to this, and yeah, DBJ, he is overcommitting, means DK, this is gonna be his go time to respond to this, but seems like he is playing this patiently apparently.
He is playing very, very patiently. The Tombstone does go out. The Graveyard hasn't been used yet. He does have the Skeleton King to work with as well. I'm not quite sure what the idea is, because he is going to be forced out with the Snowball over there. The defense is being forced out, but this is exactly when he can mount a counter push. The Skeleton going in. No Brit spam coming up. This is really interesting for me.
Yeah, he is gonna swarm as much as he can, but the Inferno Tower coming from DBJ is just defending against this. And surprise, surprise, I thought DK had a very, very good reaction to the Graveyard, but he's been saving it for the longest time. And here comes the Rockets trade with the Graveyard. Is it gonna be able to get a little bit more damage? It seems like DK is gonna be able to get a little bit more damage, but the log coming from DBJ will salvage the situation. Means he is eventually gonna lose out in terms of trade. The Rockets here doing so much damage, and it's super underrated, but at the same time, if you cycle through your cards really well, the Rockets does get a lot of sneaky damages. But this time, DBJ going for the full offense, going for the backstab, sneaks all the way, and I don't think DK can counter push this at all.
He can't. The problem is he can use a Graveyard, but the Whack is already going to be cycled in, which he's going to be able to use with the guards as well. And the first time he went in, it was really smart, because the Valkyrie was always already deployed, right? So that was a really good read. But the problem is that DK just does not simply have enough time or HP to work with this.
I think so too, but it seems like he's gotta do what he can. Lock has been used, means he can try and get a little bit more value. Here comes the Skeleton King again, but another Goblin Barrel to respond with the Snowball. A bit of overcommitment from DK, but he doesn't have much of a choice considering how old it is. Yeah, here comes the Arrow getting a little bit chipped, but does he win the trade? But another Goblin Barrel again from the cycle coming from DBJ. DK ooh, has to fight against this as much as he can, but finally goes for the Rocket. But I think the Rocket is going to be game, and yes, it will. And that is going to be DBJ going in for the clutch, taking 2-1 as of yet in game number 3. Very, very good mix-up coming from DBJ. And like you said as well, apparently the good offense is also a good offense. You know, in this case, they won. Yeah.
You gotta give me some credit. Come on. A little bit, Icy. A little bit.
For sure. Definitely for sure. But the mix-up definitely caught them off guard. And yeah, and it's Rocket's a very, very sneaky, I would say a very toxic way of playing games as well. But at the same time, it's really good at dealing against Sparky compositions if they decide to play it, which we haven't seen a single Sparky so far on stream. And oftentimes, I think Sparky playing it with Electro Giants are very, very hard to deal with, but at the same time easily counter if you do play a defensive composition or Rockets to a certain degree. But I don't think we're going to see anyone who's meta. It's still going to be favoring towards Archer Queens and Swarmy decks. So I don't know. All in all, I really like the mix-up coming from DBJ for sure.
Oh, absolutely. But here's the thing, right? You did mention the fact that it's a good way to... No, it's not technically a good way, right? Rockets can be used in a way where it's very annoying to deal with. But the one thing that I really liked, right, is with the Electro Spirit, the fast cycle that kept on coming in, the Gob Barrel and then the Rocket and the Gob Barrel and the Rocket, made sure that he was chipping away while at the same time he was pushing out a response, chipping away not just at the towers, but at the elixir as well. That was really, really smart. The Gob Battle, if they do the damage or not, that's not important. But the problem is, every time he responded, he lost on 2 or 3 elixirs just right there.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The rockets just bring so much value as long as you try to build like a big ramp, right? You can see multiple times DK tried his best to dodge his ramp by intentionally not setting up his build up troops near to the minion to give value for rockets. And this is where DVJ was just playing so smart. He knew that he was gonna mess up his bridge control, right, or troops control onto his side of the map. He when he messes up, he just intentionally doesn't use the rocket, forces a fight in his army, and then returns for a counter push. And multiple times, he just completely was able to get a better trade compared to DK. So I feel like DK responded really well game 2. Game 3, DVJ has played it really well. So it all comes down to DK. Can he play in towards game number 4? Because it is going to be match point for DVJ unless DK has something to say and drags out to game 5.
True indeed, but woo, Hunter. This is here's my question, right? It's definitely not an even trade, but at the same time, do you believe this is going to be a fast attack coming up?
I think hunters are really, really good at dealing with minions, right, and hordes. So it's something that to take note as well. It's 4 minion cost, but it's great at just completely destroying big minions because it's like a shotgun, right? So I think it's not necessarily the worst card. It's pretty decent that if you cycle it through, but it seems like DK going for a different variation in his composition where he's bringing Royal Giants, Royal Ghost, as well as the Hunter. So not exactly sure how he's going to be playing his way through, but I think it's pretty okay.
Could be, but here's the thing that we did see the Hunter going a little wrong, working out against you, especially with that accidental King Tower activation if DVJ plays this right, and this could mean that mounting an attack is going to be even more difficult with the Fisherman. Early on the bridge.
I did not expect the Fisherman. It seems like DK just wants to get rid of it as of yet because I don't think DVJ is playing a very rampy composition. He's down to his last 2 cards yet. He hasn't exactly shown it. Considering that this is the Royal Delivery thing, I think it's just DVJ playing to his comfort picks again, playing defensively and then hoping to go for offense later on.
Absolutely, but yeah, I was just surprised with the Fisherman being just put on the bridge. I'm not sure if it was just a way to mount counter pressure, but at the same time, we do have the Skeleton Battle coming in. Hunter is going to be going up. We'll deal with the skeletons along with the tower, but here's the problem. Not enough damage has been dished out. Now we do have the Fisherman with the Hunter, and this could potentially be a problem because if this activates the King Tower, that's a problem.
I don't think it's gonna happen here. I don't think DVJ has the cards to actually play for this kind of composition, and considering the amount of cards that he is, he doesn't have high value cards to actually benefit for him. And I feel like the Fisherman coming with DK is kind of useless at this stage, and is gonna be used to escort the Hunter to get a little bit more bursty damage. So I feel like based on this matchup, I feel like DK should have the better matchup in the AQ, but somehow he can't break the defense coming from DVJ.
Oh, the delivery being used really, really well. And this is something that we did not see used as often, but because the delivery, while it is really impactful, can be a little technical to actually use properly. But nonetheless, we do have the Giant on the right going in, the Royal Giant going up. At the same time, damage, not enough damage being dished out for DK, but has taken quite a bit.
Yeah, you can see the Fisherman is just not able to do his job perfectly for King Tower activations because DVJ doesn't really care about this. All they do is just go for this kind of a very annoying backline offense, or very cheapy, sneaky way of taking out a turret. And it's working out in his favor because his defense is so strong to a point that DK was expecting a frontal fight. And as you can see, he's trying his best to force a frontal fight, but the cards that DVJ has doesn't necessarily want to do that at all.
He definitely does not want to do that, but at the same time, here's the thing, right? This time around, he has realized that the amount of elixir that he was using in the last game to defend the line was actually quite a bit. So this time around, he's just going to deal with it with the locks, and at the same time, this time around, he is able to dish out some damage, but his Hunter is going to go down. Definitely has enough to mount a push, but the Gob Barrel coming up along with the Hunter being placed over there, but he's still going to take so much damage. Oh my goodness, this is not looking pretty, but at the same time, he does have the lightning to use.
Yeah, I think it's really smart to actually save up the lightning for the Inferno Tower, and DVJ is gonna try and bait it out again, and once again he is gonna intentionally place it far away so that the lightning doesn't bounces off the other units and turrets. So this is not a great time for DK to use it. And once again he goes in for Fisherman. He is gonna go in kamikaze with that vicinity, but at the same time he's just wasting a little bit more time. DVJ is just having him right in his plan, and with all these plays coming in, DK is not able to push back at all. This is really difficult for him coming from DK because he's slowly getting chipped away.
Oh yeah, no, DVJ is definitely playing this to perfection. He knows exactly what to do. His defense is rock solid. Offense is annoying to deal with. His offense might not be the best, but is definitely chipping away, and defense is so strong.
And it seems like Fisherman here he's gonna try to build a big ramp on his side of the table before pushing in, but we're down towards the final 8 seconds. That means it all comes down to the tiebreaker, and I don't think DK has what it takes, and this might be over coming from him, and that is gonna be GG coming from DVJ. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen, your finalists from this entire tournament itself. DVJ will be in the top 2, but GG well played from DK. A truly beautiful underdog story, making it into the top 4. Well done indeed.
Well done, absolutely well done. DVJ deserves to be in the final, no doubt about that. But DK, well played to you as well. But this is where it all gets real, because look, I know which side IC is picking, I know which side I'm picking, and for all the viewers out there, I know which side you guys are picking as well. Because look, the amount of pressure on these players, right, was unbelievable. But at the same time, the way they've played is really good. It was a valiant effort for DK, but it just didn't work out.
Exactly. But at the same time, for you guys watching at home as well, let us know who do you guys think is going to win the entire tournament as well, because we are here in the grand finals. And as of now, it is going to be a very interesting one. This is the matchup that I think most of the viewers has been waiting for throughout the entirety of the day. Famous Kid versus DVJ. I feel that Famous Kid... how do I make this prediction again? This is so difficult. But before we get into that prediction, why don't you guys let us know what you guys think in the comments so we can actually discuss a little bit more. But before that, let's take a look at the highlights for both DK and DVJ on how DVJ was able to outplay DK multiple instances towards the game. Because I do remember game number 1, DVJ once again showed that he does play this very defensive composition. He has his Golden Knight, and again, he's leaning on towards Goblin Barrels as well as a Royal Delivery to play this defensive composition, and he's worked out every single game. The games that we played these compositions, he's won most of the time.
He has definitely won most of the times, but then again, DVJ just coming out on top in a manner that he did. DK definitely making a really good comeback in the second game, but the problem was it wasn't good enough. And then, of course, DVJ, being the player he is, right? The way he analyzes the game is brilliant, because we've seen him slip up a little bit, but then definitely has made a good comeback.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And even the game that he lost as well, he was losing to a Goblin Drill, which unfortunately I think a lot of players did. Especially for him, right? He prefers the Dart Goblin over the Bomber, because that the Dart Goblin is able to do a lot of damage onto his high HP minion cards, rather than a Bomber is only focused on clearing of swarms. So he was able to lose that game against Mohsin, and that's why he was a little bit afraid of the Earthquake composition, because the Dark Goblin is still going to be able to bring value out towards the entire fight. But at the same time, he was able to outplay DK when he's playing a deck that he's very comfortable with. And so far, Mortar decks is just something that I think a lot of us has been experimenting. We haven't seen any success yet. And coming to the Grand Finals here, I don't think Famous Kid nor DVJ is going to play a Mortar composition. We've seen it once from the Famous Kid, but even that he was struggling to actually get his win.
Oh, absolutely. We've seen it happen. But then again, the way the last match happened, wonderful to watch, sure, but now I'm just looking forward to the finals. DVJ versus Famous Kid. Who's going to come out on top? We'll find out when the match happens. But, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for a really small breather. Do not go anywhere, because we'll be back after this really short break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Fanfury Open Championship, sponsored by Fanfury. I am Mamba Senior, alongside me is Icy Baby, and now it is time for the grand finals. This is what it all comes down to: all the years of hard work and toiling, all the years of dedication, blood and sweat and tears. This is what it all comes down to for these two players. Icy, what is your take on this?
Well, it is going to be a battle between both Famous Kid as well as DVJ. DVJ is something that I kind of predicted over the time as well, being one of the highest trophies in the current season in the entire groups as well. But Famous Kid, a little bit of an underdog as well. Sorry, not really underdog. Over low in the radar in terms of his compositions, but he does have his achievements to back it up. And today's games from him shows that he is one of the most unique players coming into his Clash Royale, and he has demonstrated that he can fight for the #1 spot, and there's a reason why he is a world stages player. But of course, for these guys just tuning in who missed out on action and wondering what is happening here, let's take a look at the journeys from all the top 16 players from all across the globe has been battling out in this bracket for the Fanfury Open Championship Clash Royale series. As you can see, these are your top 16, and we are finally in the grand finals, my friend.
Oh, we are in the grand finals. It is going to be Famous Kid and DVJ. For both these players, this is all when it gets real. For $5,000 for the first position, right? From a prize pool of $12,500. A lion's share of the prize pool at stake. But Famous Kid and DVJ going at it.
Yep, it is going to be a very exciting one that I'm looking forward to see how it goes down. Like, if you think about it, DVJ is just an absolute monster when it comes to defense spear, but he has a tendency to lean on his comfort composition, whereas Famous Kid is not afraid to experiment multiple compositions and also pull it off. But nevertheless, he still took the win against Noisy Boy with a 3-1 victory alongside with DVJ against DK. And of course, we have a lot of games happening here today as well. In case you've missed out on what have happened, these are the schedule that happened today. Earlier today, we started off things with the third quarterfinal of the series with Swerve Smoke a lot against DK, and then followed by DVJ as well as Mohsin, with DVJ taking the win. And then the semifinals begin, and now we're finally heading down towards the grand finals where Famous Kid is gonna duke it out with DVJ in a full best of 7 series.
A full best of 7 series coming up for you. Served hot and crispy. But I do believe DVJ is going to go with all guns blazing. Sure, he does have a slow start. At least that's what we've noticed, right, in the quarterfinals and the semifinals, that he does start off really slow and then tries to figure out what the opponent is doing. But the good thing over here is that he must have had the chance to try and study what Famous Kid did in the first semifinal, because he was playing in the second one. So here's my question to you. Do you think DVJ actually has an advantage in this one coming in because he actually had the opportunity to try and understand what Famous Kid was doing?
That's the thing, right? I feel like based on data-wise, Famous Kid has lesser data to read on compared to DVJ overall in this tournament itself. And the compositions that he's played, he's been very flexible, and it's extremely difficult to read his compositions, right? And I think the only time we actually saw him really struggle was his matchup against Noisy Boy, and even then it was a mirror matchup, which he does have a little bit of edge when it comes to experience. So DVJ, he's gonna be able to respond against his compositions, but I think Famous Kid doesn't lean onto his comfort comms a little bit too obvious compared to DVJ, where he leans in a little bit more comfortable with his Infernal turrets as well as his Goblin Barrels composition. So I feel like that's gonna be the take, but I don't know, anything can happen. It all comes down to ban phase as well, whether or not does he want to deal with an Earthquake, or does he want to ban off Poison, or does he want to ban off the traditional playstyle of Archer Queen. But when it comes to comfort phase, I think Famous Kid has played a lot of AQ in just now in the semifinals itself.
Here's the thing, right? We did talk about AQ not being that easily accessible for all the players, and that can get tricky. But at the same time, I think we will figure it out as the game progresses, and we'll see what happens. It's a best of 7. It's not going to be easy, but at the same time, you have to be super consistent. All the tricks up your sleeve are going to be used in this one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see what kind of composition that is going to be happening, right? Like, we know Famous Kid tends to lean on Archer Queen, so I wouldn't be surprised that DVJ decides to ban it off from the get-go. Doesn't want to allow him to play him, force him to play something else that he's maybe not leaning onto. But so far, we've seen all the most of the variations from Famous Kid's comp does include his Archer Queen, whereas most of the compositions coming from DVJ relies on his either Goblin Barrels, either Miners, either I think we've seen a couple of Inferno Towers as well, which is something that he's very comfortable with. So I wouldn't be surprised that if and only if Famous Kid decides to ban off his Inferno Towers or maybe even his what's it called? Uh, yeah, I think that the Inferno Tower would be a good one as well. Forcing him to play Mortars or Teslas is going to put him in a very awkward situation, but it will leak out for other players, in him particular, to play Skeleton King Calm, maybe even Archer Queen Calm, to actually try and mirror against Famous Kid, which is going to be in Famous Kid's territory. So I don't know. All in all, it's all speculations. Why don't you guys stick it to find out? Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be the first match of the grand finals between Famous Kid versus DVJ, with DVJ on the red side. And again, he is going to ban off the Earthquake, knowing that he absolutely hates it when he faced up against Mohsin.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But here's my question, right? The attack that he's trying to go for is really heavy. But is this going to be a ramp tech? I'm not sure about this yet, because look, reading the meta is something that you do really well, but the Night Witch coming up.
Oh, it looks like it is going to be a Swamp deck coming from Famous Kid here. He did go for the mix, but he revealed that he's played a lot of Archer Queen. This time he's playing the Skeleton Kings instead, with the Night Witch to actually play the composition. So DVJ going for a little bit of a Goblin Drill defense, so he's going for his comfort pick, but somehow Famous Kid is able to sneak away a little bit more in terms of trade-offs.
Well, absolutely. Just getting a little more value out of the cards that he's played, but a really heavy deck coming in this time around. But the question is, how is he going to defend this one? Because the Valk, along with the Miner, is not going to be easy to defend. This might be a misplay over here because of the amount of damage which is being dished out. What do you think about this?
I don't know. This is a very weird trade-off, but it looks like Famous Kid is going to lose his tower. However, Famous Kid is going to go all in on the left side. The Tesla is going to delay the inevitable, but DVJ, he's not able to build out enough elixir to go in for composition, and Famous Kid is going to go double down on this composition to try and lure in for a King Tower activation, but it looks like he is going to be able to build a big ramp to potentially go in for a trade-off. Meanwhile, Famous Kid, he does lose out a lot on his crown with 1.6k on his health.
He does lose out on a lot of health, and this could be a massive problem, and does not even get the tower right there. He needs to defend the line as well at the same time. But the drill coming up, this could be a massive problem. I think it is a mistake coming up, because going in that heavy with 8 elixir being used up in the golem, yeah, no, I don't agree with it.
Yeah, this is a very rampy composition that Famous Kid played from the get-go. It really excels in 3x or 2x elixirs, but at the same time, revealing it rather early means DVJ can continue with its assault, and he was able to get so much value in all this trade-off from the get-go. And just like that, he's losing out so much of these trades, and the King Tower is pretty much down to his 800 health, and DVJ wants to completely stall on him, I guess.
He is definitely coming. Oh, the emotes coming in. A little bit of BM, but I guess he knows exactly what is about to happen. The fireball going in as well, and the tower coming out, but it's not going to matter one bit unless, of course, there is some other way to get one more crown, which I do not believe is going to happen unless, of course, well, this is when the rampy decks start playing up.
Yep, you can see the patience coming from DVJ. He's trying to cycle through the double fireball to actually going for the King Tower activation, but the amount of RAM that Famous Kid is building right now is a little bit too hard to handle, so he doesn't want to over-aggressively throw his lead, but it seems like Famous Kid is still barely hanging on 400 health, but I'm a little bit surprised with this play. But here comes the Goblin Drill from the back as well. He will be immediately defended with the Skeleton King, but does he get a chip damage? No, he doesn't even get the damage for small, as Famous Kid still manages to defend. I'm surprised DVJ not ciphering with the double fireballs onto his base, but I don't think he can, considering the amount of RAM that Famous Kid is bringing to this stage. And this is the triple elixir that we're looking for to do as well. Goblin Drill finally comes in down to a 398 health for Famous Kid. Down to his lethal as well. One more fireball is all he needs, and he won't get it. Famous Kid. Ooh, a little bit too close of a comeback, but DVJ feeling a little bit sigh of relief. So he will take the one lead against Famous Kid in this best of 7.
Ooh, To Famous Kid's credit, I do have to respect the way he actually played. It was really risky. Sure, maybe a misplay early on, going on with the goal, and that early in the game was not probably the best of choices because of the fact that he lost on the bottom right tower. But at the same time, the sort of composure that he showed and the way he tried to mount a counter attack, commendable, absolutely commendable. It's not easy to do for sure.
Yeah, that was very, very difficult to play considering the amount of ramp, right? Like he showed it so early to a point that DVJ was able to get so much value in the first, I think normal phase 1, right? He was able to take off the right side tower and also get a huge half HP onto his king crown, which is normally in the global stages nearly impossible to reach this stage. And for DVJ to get a triple crown in game number 1 and the grand final just shows you that he's got so much potential to make it to globals potentially. But at the same time, Famous Kid at the same time has been, I don't know, it might be a little bit greedy, maybe a little bit mix up, but I think he definitely dropped the ball on that for that matchup.
Yeah, dropping the ball. Here's the thing, right? It was not a bad strategy. We've seen this before. I do believe we saw it from some Indian player. Sir Smoke.
Yeah,
making the
Sir
same
Smoke.
mistake. And he realized what went wrong with that one. Only problem was you need double, triple elixir coming in, and only then you can use that heavy of a card and at the same time mount a defense. But if you play that wrong, you saw what exactly happens. But then again, I'm not going to take away any sort of points from Famous Kid. Sure, he made mistakes, but he's still very much in the game.
Yeah, it's everything is gonna be in your favor, right? It's all about adapting towards a best of 7. But as of now, Famous Kid definitely losing one game, but he might be hiding his strategy more because game 2 is on its way, and DVJ is gonna be going for the mix-up, and this time he will be playing the Hog Rider, which is something that Famous Kid has played before.
Yeah, and now the Gob Drill going in, which is going to be a little sneaky along with the bats, which are going to go up, but the Valk trying to go in for counter damage. It's not going to work out exactly. It does take a little bit of damage. The zap as well. He does have a zap to use, which is interesting.
Yeah, he definitely lost out a little bit of trades on top of the wall as well. Preemptively arrow shower catches the skeletons on top of it all. Manages to sneak a damage coming in. Famous Kid once again with the pre-fires. It's a pretty sick one. Meanwhile, AQ is going to be able to stick a couple of damage on the tower. Here comes the MK, the Mega Knight, coming from Famous Kid, getting big values on these trade-offs. And just like that, Famous Kid, I think he's going to get a little bit more out of this. DVJ needs to find a way to defend it because he forces the Valkyrie, but I'm pretty sure it's going to get taken out rather quickly as well. As the Mega Knight needs to get a jump onto the turret here. He needs to wait for the right moment. The lock comes in, and that's going to be the dunk coming in, and more damage from the side of Famous Kid, and that is going to be the Goblin Trio on top of it. DVJ losing out this trade just like that. Overcommitted with the AQ.
Oh, absolutely, but it's also interesting to see the ways as he's been using this app as well, right? But the arrows, preemptive arrows with the wall breakers, that was so good to use, and that was so good. He's actually going to walk away with the tower. Just one more cycle, he's actually going to have the tower, but he needs to stop this Vibe from dishing out any sort of damage. The AQ coming up, and Famous Kid definitely looking on the top of his game.
Yeah, a little bit better now in this game, but still, it's not over yet. DVJ is only like 600 behind in terms of King Tower trade-off, so it's going to be A-okay. Meanwhile, not exactly sure what the skill activation on the AQ was for. They will trade off the Tesla, but that is going to be an overcommitment coming from Famous Kid for just a Tesla.
Absolutely, but the drill going up, AQ being held up, the fire spirit as well, preemptive arrows, I'm not quite sure with what, but nonetheless, 140 points, that is all he needs, one drill, and that's going to be over. He does have a zap to work with. The question is, how is he going to go for it? The Tesla, oh my goodness, dishing out so much damage at the same time, getting so much more value, but the MK coming up.
Oh, that's a big trade with the MK as well, and Famous Kid, he is gonna get a little bit upper hedge here, but Hog Rider coming from DVJ, hoping to sneak a damage across, but does miss completely. This means Famous Kid will have the complete upper hand in this 80 seconds, and that is gonna be one tower advantage for Famous Kid. 15 seconds there by DVJ, he knows he's gonna lose this here, and the Mega Knight completely dumpsters his composition. This is why MK is just so good in these kind of scenarios. You turn a tide around and punish over commitments very easily. So nicely done coming from Famous Kid, tying the series, taking game number 2.
Absolutely, and Famous Kid, when he started off, right, I noticed a slight smirk on his face. For all the viewers, you can actually rewind and check it out. The moment the match started, he knew exactly what he wanted to do, and could definitely be a strategy. Lost out on the first game, did not lose composure, did not lose hope. and
Yeah.
made a comeback in the second one.
Yeah, nicely done coming from Famous Kid as well. He was able to read very, very patiently as well. I think that one fight on bottom right there, but DVJ, he understood that, hey, Famous Kid is popping an Archer Queen. There was 3 units from the side of DVJ that he had to pop the spell rather early, right? If, let's say, an Archer King versus Archer King matchup, right? Whoever pops the skill first tends to lose out because he will be revealed first before the face of the second Archer Queen. And because of that bait, DVJ thought he had the upper hand because he popped it second with a big horde. He was able to get a big horde coming in for Famous Kid. But as soon as the Magic Knight dropped, that completely destroys all the RAM and collector coming in. The elixirs that DVJ has built up and just completely swung in Famous Kid's favor. And it's not happened once now; it's happened twice in a row, and it just gives you a very big insight on why Mega Knights, E-Wizards, or Ice Wizards gives you so much value if you get the right drop at the right time.
Absolutely, there's no doubt about that. But 2 games already being done in the grand finals, it doesn't even feel like it, right? Because you do expect the games to be intense, but at the same time, they're so interesting, keeps you glued to your seats. For all the viewers out there, it's 1-1, still anybody's game. I definitely want to know who you are rooting for, because I know who Icy Baby's rooting for. But you know what? DBJ is definitely going to make a comeback in this one.
Yeah, hoping to see Famous Kid actually pull the W as well. Because, ladies and gentlemen, here we're heading towards game number 3 in this best of 7 series, with both players already tying the series, making a full reset. But they do have a little bit of a better understanding of their composition and playstyle. It seems like we do see Fire Spirit Skeletons as well as Locke here. It might be a mirror matchup coming from both Famous Kid as well as DVJ for this fight.
True, but I'm not sure how the log was being used by Famous Kid, because it did not get any value with it. Absolutely none.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised with that as well. I think he just wants to deal with the Fire Spirit, but seems like Valkyrie is going to be... Yeah, it is going to be a mirror matchup coming from both DVJ and Famous Kid. They perfectly understand that this is happening, but at the same time, it all comes down to execution. But now, here comes a Firecracker as well, the Arrow Shower. The arrow as well going to be taking him out, means that DVJ will review his cards a little bit more. Firecrackers with Hawk Rider, but Famous Kid's variation is going to be including the Mortar as well as the AQ to deal with this. This is why Mortar is so strong. It just completely catches you off guard, but he's able to get 2 cannons off the top left tower.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think Famous Kid with the Mortar might have been a little more preemptive over there. Could have probably waited for the defense, maybe wait for one more move, because DBJ definitely came out on top of that trade, has gotten more damage, does have the elixir advantage as well. But this is going to be interesting. The graveyard coming up. The question is how to deal with this, because the Firecracker is going to be right there, but taking so much damage. Oh my goodness!
Oh my goodness, this graveyard completely catch DVJ off guard. The log was a little bit late on the use as well. Firecracker comes in, but Firecracker has one of the slowest DPS when it comes to AoE crowd control, and it's just not gonna do a little bit more damage. And the Mortar now gonna be baiting out the Hall Rider as well, but it seems like the Firecracker is gonna get chip damage on the tower, almost enough in the range for King Tower activation. But I don't think Famous Kid wants that to happen as of yet. But Firecrackers maybe in a position, but at the same time, is it going to be an intentional bait? Does DVJ want the Mortars to be on their side of the on towards the Famous Kid's King Tower activation, or does he want Famous Kid to play the Mortar offensively? But it seems like Famous Kid wants to play it defensively.
Which makes all the more sense, right? Because it can kite units way too much. At the same time, he is mounting up a defense while the towers can actually come in and help. But at the same time, I do believe the top left tower is as good as gone with the graveyard, which can come in at any point, is dishing out so much damage. But look at this Tesla.
Yep. The Tesla on top of it all, but the Arrow Shower will be enough to chunk away the King Crown, and DVJ is 1.7k away to make a comeback. I don't think he's going to be able to do too much with this composition, because Famous Kid is able to respond to this very easily. And like I said as well, Archer Queen compositions tend to win a lot, and that is the reason why it's just so strong. Underestimating the Archer Queen. Getting a little bit greedy as well. DVG not playing a way to deal with it. That's just so difficult to play. But nevertheless, well done coming from Famous Kid, getting a 2-0 response and heading to his game number 3. And just like that, he is taking away the lead against DVJ.
I'm gonna give it to you. I see you're coming out on top of this one, but it's not over. It is not over. 2 more games for him to win and 3 more for DVJ. Still anybody's matchup, of course. We will talk about what went wrong, but AQ, I do believe. As a matter of fact, I agree with you. AQ is very overpowering, and it's also not easy to deal with.
Yeah. We've seen players deal with the AQ with lightning in particular, or maybe even fireballs as well. I think lightning was something that Noisy Boy did a fantastic job at dealing with AQs. But with that kind of mentality set up, it might be an illusion that Famous Kid wants to play. So if DVJ decides to go for the lightning now, it wouldn't be too bad. But at the same time, he needs to work around a composition that benefits from all these lightning trade-offs. And currently, I think the graveyard definitely caught him off guard. I wasn't expecting DVJ to not able to respond to the graveyard. I was expecting maybe his lock to be a little bit early. The firecrackers was a little bit surprising for me. It's not the best solution to deal with the graveyard. I feel like so far, throughout both days so far, the best ways to deal with firecrackers has been the Valkyrie or even a bomber. Poison on top of graveyard is okay, but it's very, very overcommitted, and it's very difficult to play in this kind of compositions. And tentatively, players want to use like poison aggressively to go for cheap damage, or maybe earthquake in particular, which obviously it has been banned off by DVJ.
Oh, absolutely. But I do believe the mortar was so impactful with kiting the units as well as tanking them. Using it defensively was actually a really good play. He knew if he placed it up top, could have taken a lot more damage, a lot more early, but placing it defensively allows the towers to come in and back them up. So all in all, just good gameplay, really good fundamentals coming up, and the Famous Kid will be on a high.
Yep, seems like DVJ is going towards his comfort picks again this time with the Scallop Barrels coming in. I wouldn't be surprised to see it again, but this time here comes a Goblin Barrel on top of it. Well, this is something that DVJ is very comfortable in terms of composition, so I wouldn't be surprised that Famous Kid kind of anticipates this, but I'm not sure how is he going to be able to respond to this.
I do believe this is going to be a little more difficult, but the Fire Spirit... Oh! But yeah, no, the mortar is not going to be around this time around. The Scale Barrier is going to dish out some damage, but AQ will be able to clean it up. We do have the gloves going in, not being able to dish out any damage whatsoever, but still a fairly light deck. Can cycle through really quickly. The Goblin cycle is something the Gob Battle cycle is something we've seen, but the delivery...
Oh my goodness, great activation coming from Famous Kid. This is something that is so much value, but at the same time, the Valkyrie on the right side is going to be able to draw attention of Mortar. So that means DVJ is going to be able to defend against these very, very easily. But as of now, nothing super major yet. Both players having 50-50 trades as of yet as we head into his game number 4. This is pretty insane. But now, here comes the offense coming in. Another AQ coming in from Famous Kid.
Oh, absolutely. He is taking on the AQ directly. He's challenging the AQ. DVJ knows exactly what he needs to do, right? And this is something that he's so confident with, the quick cycles, making sure that he mounts the pressure and keeps it up. And at the same time, dishing out so much damage in the process to the AQ every single time that even if the AQ comes out on top, will not be able to dish out any meaningful damage. And now the Elixir definitely with the Famous Kid, with the Mortar coming up. And this is where I do believe Scale Battle can go in again.
Yeah, this is going to be the mix-up coming from Famous Kid, right? Early on, he tried to play offensively with the Mortar, didn't exactly work off. This time, he's playing it defensively to hope to get a punish on DVJ. Hopefully, DVJ is not going to be able to walk into his trap, but as of now, he's getting a little bit more chip damage on the turrets here, but he's still saving up his final card coming from DVJ alongside with Famous Kid as a crucial pinch server for the last moment. And again, another Goblin Barrel coming from DVJ forces a lot, but finally the Tesla has revealed himself. That means the Mortar will be completely countered by the Tesla. And the final Graveyard from the side of Famous Kid as well, knowing that DVJ doesn't have a solution to the Graveyard at all. And that is going to be a lot of damage coming from Famous Kid from this trade-offs. And alongside with the Mortar, oh no, getting the trade on the Dark Goblin as well means that he will win the trade-off coming from Famous Kid.
Oh, absolutely, but the log is being used so beautifully as a defensive maneuver from Famous Kid, right? But the AQ is going to go up, but the Graveyard coming in again. DVJ being absolutely gobsmacked the way this is being played out, and Famous Kid outclassing him.
Oh my goodness, the arrow graveyard instead of poison graveyard is just so much cheaper, but it gets the job done. But however, Famous Kid still drawing attention with the mortar means that any kind of sneaky plays coming from DVJ is not gonna help him out at all. So that's yet another graveyard, but this time with the mortar on the sides, he is gonna try and trade off with the goblin barrels. Immediately the lock response coming from Famous Kid means he's not gonna be able to do chip off damage. And once again, over commitment coming from DVJ for the defense against the graveyard means he needs to find something to do about it. So get another AQ coming from Famous Kid, which completely just shuts down what DVJ is thinking about.
Yeah, definitely DVJ does look visibly nervous with the setup that he has right now. The composition not working out for him. Famous Kid with every single counter that he needs to have. The log, is it going to dish out any damage? Nope, no meaningful damage. The battle though is going to be kited by the mortar right there while the AQ comes up, and it's not going to work out because the preemptive battle is just going to clean them all up. Now the AQ can push up, but can the the Dark Goblin make any meaningful damage? Nope, that is not going to happen. At the same time, the graveyard once again so impactful.
Yeah, nicely done coming from DVJ, responding with the Valkyrie as well as the lock. Completely gets 0 damage from the graveyard. Great placements as well with the respawn. But another graveyard cycle coming from Famous Kid means that DVJ does not have the Valkyrie in cycle, so that's going to be a few graveyard being sneaking in towards the top right of the turret, so that's going to be a little bit more damage. And just like that, DVJ was caught off a surprise because Famous Kid was cycling through for another graveyard again, and here he comes. He has the Valkyrie, he has to force out a lot of things, but unfortunately he's not gonna be able to do too much about his variations. And just like that, DVG knows he's lost the game. There's no way he's winning this. And just like that, Famous Kid gets a reverse 3-0 sweep, potentially. And, you know, actually not potentially, it's a definite situation right now. Reverse 3-0 sweep, going into its match point, and just like that, Famous Kid takes 3-1 in this best of 7 series against DVJ.
Yeah, it is the back against the wall for DVJ. He needs to show up right now. He needs to step up right now, because if he loses out on this one, the championship is out of his hands. And Famous Kid, you can say whatever you want, but the way he's played is absolutely brilliant.
I know, that was just insane coming from Famous Kid, and we're down towards championship point coming in from Famous Kid, and he's one game away to be crowned the champion here for the Fanfury Open Championship, and he's done a phenomenal game so far. And game number 1, he dropped the ball against DVJ, and what a turn of events. He was able to reverse sweep his way through, and just like that, DVJ has not been able to respond to this Archer Queen composition, and it just shows you why AQ is just so strong. And DVJ has not figured a way to counter it yet. We've seen Mohsin deal with it. We've seen I think Noisy Boy deal with it as well with the lightning, but unfortunately it's just not working out.
It is definitely not working out. There's no way DVJ is going to be able to deal with it, unless, of course, he comes out with something absolutely new, which, well, his opponent does not expect. The question is, can he do it? It's going to be a lot of pressure, right? Because, again, lion's share of the prize pool, not just that, but the bragging rights of being the best in the region amongst the 15 countries that are participating over here. It's something that you hold in really high regard. You want that prestige of being called the champion and the best player in your own region. But, yeah, it's do or die for him.
I agree. I'm looking forward to see how the final match is going to go, because it all comes down to whether or not DVJ is able to adapt to the Archer Queen or not. Because Famous Kid, he's demonstrated that he loves that Archer Queen composition, but he also demonstrated that he can play multiple variations of decks and drafts to play. But hopefully the mix-up is going to throw him off guard, but let's see how it goes, because ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be the championship point match for Famous Kid as we head into his game number 5 between DVJ versus Famous Kid here in the Grand Finals.
Yeah, again, Famous Kid looking pretty confident with the way his setup is. He has a Goblin Cage Baby Dragon coming up. And, right? Spear Goblins? Fair enough.
Yeah, but a little bit of a mix-up here, but seems like DVJ is going to its comfort picks here. This time he's going to play Mortar versus Mortar, whereas Famous Kid is going to go for Cage Goblin. So, I think this is going to be a Famous Kid's first, I think his deck against Noisy Boy, identical one from game number 1 when he's played against him. So this is something that he's gonna benefit a little bit more. But here comes the Royal Hawks coming in from DVJ. He's gonna go all in, and it seems like immediately gets countered, and it's gonna be Card Cannon versus Card Cannon as well. So a little bit of variations coming in. But I'm not exactly sure how DVJ is gonna make a comeback for this, because Famous Kid is not gonna go full offense with this composition.
Yeah, but definitely aiming for the split lane damage. He knows exactly what to do. Is playing really aggressive. While it's a bit of a risk, I think if Famous Kid slows the game down just a little bit, he can try and turn the tides around.
Yeah, I guess that's gonna be the case here. But as of now, Famous Kid does lose out in the little bit of trade here. The Mortal was able to sneak a couple hits on the bottom right. But I believe it all comes down to 2x, right? Phase 2 is where what Famous Kid wants to play. He's still hiding his 2 cards yet. Likewise coming for DVJ. Doesn't want to reveal the variations yet. But seems like finally DVJ will play an AQ comp with Royal Hawks. And I'm a little bit curious here. Is he going to split off his Royal Hawks, or is he going to all in one lane again? Because if he all ends this Golden Knight is going to benefit a lot from these trade-offs.
Oh, that was such a good placement from the card cannon, because it kited the Golden Knight away, and this could be a all-in with the Royal Hawks on the right-hand lane. And is that going to be enough damage? Yes, indeed. We do have the Goblin Cage coming up, which made sure that not a lot of damage was dished out to the bottom right tower, but at the same time, ooh.
Oh wow, Poison Graveyard coming from Famous Kid, finally pulls it off as well. This is a very, very difficult comp to pull off, but eventually pays off in towards the later stage of the game. This is where phase 2 comes in. It's going to be able to get a little more chip damage. However, despite the chip damage coming in, DVJ was able to respond to all this. So I'm a little bit surprised that there was not much damage being dished out with the Poison Graveyard. Sorry. The poison was actually from DVJ. Alright, so it makes a lot of sense. It just completely counts to the Graveyard. My bad.
Oh, absolutely, but this time around, the Graveyard is going to work out a quick cycle for the Graveyard, taking up so much damage, but he is still up ahead. No, at this point, he's not, with the Royal Hawks going in. No defense to work with. The Goblin Cage going in, the Poison coming up is going to dish out so much damage, and the Royal Hawks still alive, taking away just enough to come out on top of this trade.
Yeah, this is a beautiful play coming from DVJ as well. AQ just completely outclasses as well. Another Graveyard coming in, but DVJ, is he able to cycle the Poison in time? No, he does not. He already used it aggressively, and Famous Kid actually managing to get a little bit of trade out of this because the Poison is out of cycle in the previous trade. So great read coming from Famous Kid for this, but again, another Royal Hawk comes in, Connor Cannon as well, but DVJ once again going full offense with the Poisons. Likewise coming from Famous Kid, he can turn things around, but looks like he's gonna pop the Golden Knight and deal with the AQ first before actually turning the tides. But as of yet, Graveyard is in cycle from the side of Famous Kid. How will he respond? But looks like he will save it for the last moment because he's afraid that DVJ may have Poison available.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's going to wait out for the Poison, which is going to be the counter push, but he needs to hold the line as well until the same time. The problem is DVJ is playing his deck to near perfection.
3x.
Every single push is working out for him. The Graveyard being used out, but the Poison is going to come in, which is going to try and counter that. But the arrows not dishing out enough damage. That is going to be a massive problem. But he can definitely quickly cycle it through and try and go for more damage. The snowball, the giant snowball, but then the Knight being pulled out. We might see the Hawks coming in once again, which might come in clutch for DVJ.
This is something that Famous Kid is super experienced at when it comes to 3x, right? The moment he's 3x, his decks completely come up online, and you can see DVJ is feeling the pressure that he's continuing to forward as well. The Graveyard consistently attacking the back lines, but he's managed to build a very, very healthy lead. And this time, he's going to go back for the counter push against Famous Kid. Here comes the Poison on top of it all, and he finally takes back the lead at the last 10 seconds because of this build-out. Well done coming in from DVJ, because this is going to be close, but seems like Famous Kid is not over yet. He's down to the last hurrah. He's going to throw everything on the top right. Can he get the trade? No, he cannot. The Poison on DVJ on the bottom right means that he will come back in game number 5. That means it is going to be 2-3 from the side of DVJ, and DVJ winning game number 5, even though it's championship point for Famous Kid. They do not want to give up yet. Hoo la la! What a close game coming from those players.
Oh, absolutely. They do not want to give up just yet, and that is exactly what we're going to see. I did mention it is do or die for DVJ, and he delivers when he absolutely had to. He had his back against the wall, came out on top of this fight and played it to perfection. It was almost as if he went into, you know what we call the flow state? That's exactly what it felt like.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, like, the AQ com is just so strong. We've talked about it before top 16, and finally we were seeing it here. And even Famous Kid, no matter how experienced of him as an Archer Queen player, he just completely got destroyed by DBJ. And on top of it all, he showed himself that he does like to pocket pick with his graveyard 2 games in a row. DBJ was able to respond with the poison, which is very, very nice done. I was expecting maybe a lightning to do AQ, but he tried to mirror it out by going for his AQ. But instead of going for lightning to deal with Famous Kid's AQ, which is not valuable in terms of trade, he was able to match in case he goes for AQ again. AQ versus AQ. RNG comes down to decision making, and then preemptively get the poison, anticipating a graveyard. So that was a very, very smart deck adaptation coming from DBJ. But hopefully he's gonna be able to continue to steamroll his way through, because we are jumping into game 6 right away against DBJ versus Famous Kid in this grand finals, with the Famous Kid looking for the championship point.
Absolutely, he is looking for the champion. Okay, then. I mean, an even trade, right? But just shut down so quickly. It was surprising to say the least. But enough equal elixir being leaked out on both the ends. Nothing fancy going on. Rampy deck probably. But the Royal Hawks split coming up. This is going to be difficult to deal with.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see how it goes there. But that's the thing, right? Famous Kid just going for something he's comfortable with as well is smart, but DBJ playing an identical draft. But this time, there is going to be a little bit of switch up here. Ram Rider going to be played here, coming from side Famous Kid to anticipate maybe a little bit of a rampy composition, but I seems like it's not helping him at all, because Famous Kid is losing out the trades. It might be a comeback for DBJ if this continues.
He knows exactly what went wrong with him, right? The Mortar kept on cutting his units, and this time around he's going to try and do the same to his opponent. And the best thing is, you're right, it might be a rampy deck, because we did see both the players really hesitant on making a move, which has not been the case with them historically.
Yeah, I like how Famous Kid is just using arrow showers to get value on towards structural damage, but so far it's not as valuable compared to a poison or an earthquake, right? And he's using this arrow in compensate for the earthquake, which is banned from the side of DBJ. So it's a little bit annoying of an adaptation, but hopefully it works out, because right now here comes the Royal Hawks coming on the bottom left side. A big Mega Knight comes in from Famous Kid, but not able to completely defend against this. He's hoping to get a little bit more damage out of this with the AQ and Mega Knight split push.
Yeah, but no, the delivery being really, really impactful, right? And with the MK coming in clutch, taking away so much damage, taking away so much time as well at the same time. But look at that arrow shower, along with the giant snowball coming in, the cannon card coming up as well. But is that going to be enough to try and stop all the damage which is happening? Nope, a lot of damage being dealt out in just one push.
Yeah, nicely done coming in from that as well. Like, the Mega Knight was able to split push as well, escorting the Ram Rider, getting a lot of free hits from the structure. And because of this, just like that, DBJ is going to lose out, and the Mortar gets completely shut down from AQ. This is huge for Famous Kid in terms of trade value. And how is he going to be respond? Roy delivery comes in, and I guess he's going to be fine. I guess this is pretty okay for now. And another Mega Knight on top of it all. Famous Kid trading up pretty well. Another Mortar setup for Famous Kid to try and deliver away. I don't think it's that much of an issue. Arrow Shower comes in, but the card cannon is still available, but the Mega Knight will be countered very easily. Unless the AoE hits the turret, nope, it does not.
Yeah, that isn't going to be the case, but I do believe that Famous Kid has the upper hand right now because of the amount of damage he was able to dish out in just one push. But look at that giant snowball pushing the Musketeer a little bit more behind. Ooh, this is something we did not see coming.
Oh, big lightning catch coming from Famous Kid as well to actually prop the card cannon as well, do chap damage. And just like that, Famous Kid is looking for the championship push here. Here comes the arrow shower on top of it. Oh, he does have the tools to fight this DBJ. He's getting desperate. You can see he's cycling his way through to go in for the counter offense. But at the same time, it's all within Famous Kid's control. Look at this, another snowball value on chip damage. He's hoping his Royal Hawks gets value out of it, but seems like it will be easily countered by the Royal Ghost. And also another Mega Knight setup. This might be GG. I don't think DBG can do anything about this.
It definitely could be GG, but that Rider is going to go in. The Ram Rider might as well be the difference. Now, Ram Rider, though, was worth $2,500. I'm just going to point that out because the difference between the first place and the second place is $2,500. But yeah, Famous Kid walking away with $5,000 over here, ladies and gentlemen. Your champion is Famous Kid.
Congratulations towards Famous Kid, because that was really, really exciting to watch as well. Well done. Mega Knight wins the game. It is still one of the strongest cards and definitely threw us off guard as well because there's so much value from that play. There is a reason why he's a global player. There is a reason why he made it this far. And congratulations indeed. Well done coming from Famous Kid, because he showed one of the most unique decks here in the entire tournament with multiple variations and coming out on top in most of them. Well done.
Well, absolutely. And the one thing that I would like to point out, while Famous Kid has won the tournament, DVJ, you should keep your head up high because you made it to the finals. Number one. Second, you did put up a good fight. It's just that Famous Kid came out on top in every single way possible. But the fact that you're one of the top players in your region, probably one of the top 5 players in your region, is an achievement in itself, and you're walking away with $2,500 as well. But once again, going back to Famous Kid, congratulations to you because you've played really, really well.
Yes, congratulations this year. But of course, I want to take a look at the highlights coming in from the grand finals. In case for these guys watching at home want to find out how it actually went down between all the matches here, pretty much a summary for you guys, because we're jumping into the highlights for the grand finals of this matchup. Because Famous Kid and also DVJ, we could see that DVJ had a very overwhelming start in game number 1, completely outclassed Famous Kid in terms of this ramp composition. Archer Queen, maybe his personal favorite, but he tried a skeleton composition and got greedy and lost his composition because of this golem, because he could not be able to build out the ramp that he intended, which is in 2x and 3x stage, which was easily punished by this early aggression by DBJ.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. But here's the question, right? With all the players playing the way they did, it was not easy to come up with a prediction, right? Because both of us thought a lot of these players have a great chance of winning the tournament. Personally, Sir Smoke, to me, was a really strong player. But at the same time, DVJ came out on top. We had Famous Kid in the finals showing up when he had to lost the first game. But after that, it was all Famous Kid show.
Yeah, I definitely agree, because it seems like he stuck to his roots as well. Arch AQ composition is something is really comfortable at. Mega Knight is something that people just don't value a lot, because it just brings so much value. I play a lot of Mega Knight in my composition personally, and you could see, like, if you get to punish over commitments coming from opponents, you are going to get so much in terms of value, because you have this one big unit that just clears off everything else, and you have a very high damage tank unit to counter push with. So it's just so good in terms of value. And multiple times you can see, even in game number 3, game number 4, the AQ composition tends to win against a variation without AQ. That's the reason why it is the AQ meta in the current patch.
Oh, absolutely. It is the AQ meta. But the thing that you mentioned, right? Not everybody has easy access to AQ. So that is the most difficult part. The fact that you have access to AQ is something that just pushes you over the line sometimes when you might have to edge it out. But overall, game number 3 as well, right? It had to go down to a tiebreaker where Famous Kid had enough chip damage and eventually won in the HP being drained out. But this is where it started getting interesting. Game number 5.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Game number 5 was a little bit of element surprise coming from DVJ as well. He anticipated that the graveyard play coming, I think 2 games in a row, I think game 3 and game 4, Famous Kid pulled in the graveyard was something that he did not expect. And when he adapted to poison, it worked out in his favor, right? But in this final game number 6, he didn't exactly anticipate as well. He know it's going to be a little bit of a switch up coming from Famous Kid. He played with an identical draft as well, but did not expect the Famous Kid went to his comfort pick AQ with Mega Knight and Ram Rider as well, which is something that is very expensive to play, but it works out if you can actually get a heavy punish, because once you get the punish in, you are going to win. So well done coming from Famous Kid. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. He is your Fanfury Open Championship champion, Famous Kid, walking away with $5,000. That is a huge chunk coming into that match. And like Mamba said as well, the 2.5k USD Ram Rider sealing the deal.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely did not expect the Ram Rider would be that expensive, but that was the differentiator, right? At the end of the day, that is what sealed the deal. That is what was the play of the match, and you won because of the Ram Rider at the end. But nonetheless, DVJ as well, right? Walking away with $2,500 is not a small chunk. But let's have a look at the brackets and see which are the players that made it to the top 16 and then the quarterfinals and the semifinals as well. But going over the entire tournament, right? The early games we had in round of 16 completely lopsided. but quarterfinal 3 and 4, and then the semifinals is when it started getting interesting.
Yeah, I think quarterfinals was already a part where a lot of the players already started to like get a very tense as well. Famous Kid against Venom was a free buy for him. We saw Famous Kid going up against Mugi as well. That was a pretty interesting match as well. Not a lot of data, but when he played against Noisy Boy, I have to give credit towards Noisy Boy into the semifinals because he really stepped it out. He was able to adapt on the fly, but the amount of variations and that composition and mastery coming from Famous Kid is just hard to deal with, right? We tend to see a lot of habitual plays coming from the players. Like, for example, DVJ, he leans on his Royal delivery compositions, which if he tries to play something else, he is a big gamble, but sometimes you got to step out of your comfort zones to experiment, and that's where he was able to get a second win against Famous Kid, which not a lot of players has been able to do so. So I like how Famous Kid is still the stronger player, the more experienced player, but at the same time, it gives a learning process for all the players coming into this tournament itself.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. But to all the players that actually showed up until the round of 32, round of 16, and then moving on. And congratulations to all of you. I mean, sure, the top 8 players are walking away with money, but you guys should be proud of yourselves because top 50, top 30, top 16 players in your own region is no small feat.
Exactly, especially when so many countries are involved in competing here. We have so many players from other day actually competing for this spot, and eventually it comes down to this winnings. But of course, this is going to be the prize distribution for all the players itself. With first place, Famous Kid walking with $5,000 DVJ as the first runner-up at $2,500. Third and fourth place will be walking away by Noisy Boy as well as DK. And 5th to 8th place, we have Sir Spoke a Lot, Mohsin, Venom, as well as Jazz. Ladies and gentlemen, these are your top 8 walking away with the prize winnings of the Fanfury Open Championship.
Well, that's not just about it. Listen, money, good enough, the prestige, good enough, but let's not forget why we all started gaming, IC. It's that rush. Not... I don't know
about
you,
for the
man.
bragging rights, bro. Dude, Famous Kid is first place. He's famous now, man.
He was already famous. Let's be honest. He was already famous, yeah. But the rush you get when you win, when you come out on top, when you know for a fact that you're the one who's better than the opposition, you're better than your opponent, feels good.
Agreed.
It really does feel good.
Agreed. I definitely threw you off with the cloud.
But yeah, but this is one thing I'll tell you, right? There's a reason why we're on this side of the camera and not the other one, because, well, clearly, if we could play, we'd probably be in the game on the server walking away with $5,000, but we can't. But all the jokes apart, right? To everybody who tuned in for this tournament, thank you so much for tuning in. A massive shout out to Fanfury for making all of this happen. I see pleasure casting with you, and though it was the first time, did not feel like it.
Yep, and thank you so much for actually getting us as well. Thank you so much for Fanfury Open Championship for having us as your casters as well, especially to EOS for getting us here. And I was a little bit surprised here. We were kind of worried that our first time is going to be awkward. I hope everything was an enjoyable experience for all you guys, the viewers at home, as well as the EOS. Hoping that we could be able to see you guys in the next cast together, hopefully together, remember. But all in all, this is pretty much it here for the Fanfury Open Championship. And congratulations once again to Famous Kid for taking the championship title. Hopefully we will see you guys in the next one if we have a second season for you guys. And once again, all this is sponsored by Fanfury. Any final words, Bamba, before we sign off?
None, no, absolutely none. It was an absolute pleasure casting alongside you, and of course the lovely production team that we always work with. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Until the next time, it's going to be Mom and IC signing off.
you